Slow start this morning. But we're back. We're in.
It's no big deal. You got to go to the great city of Memphis, see the wonderful people of Memphis. You'd be a little late bedtime. Worth it, right?
Definitely worth it. But they are good people. They are fun. You were there 2 weeks ago. I was there last night talking to the Memphis Touchdown Club. Great people. It's always a fun visit. We've got Paul Feinbaum coming up in about 10 minutes. Greg Byrne, Alabama Athletic Director, after him. We will discuss the House settlement just a little bit more today. Had to discuss it some more last night and just had to continuously tell people this is not what I want to be talking about. I would rather be talking about football and scheme and personnel and matchups, but it is a big part of what's happening in college sports right now. And we have more movement, more change in college football, GMAC, as we heard the report yesterday that two teams had dipped their toe into private equity. We now know who those two teams are. Penn State and UCLA. Not sure I expected it to be two Big Ten teams, as they have proudly puffed their chest out recently that they receive more money annually than anybody else. UCLA, a little more understandable, I guess, than Penn State. But they have signed 8-figure private equity capital deals with Elevate. Not a ton of details surrounding exactly what it's going to be or what it's going to mean. But what does this signify to you about maybe where we are in some aspects of college football?
One, no surprise. Let's start with Penn State. They're probably the more surprising of the two. UCLA has challenges well beyond that of Penn State and most other Big Ten teams just because of the footprint that they occupy. But Penn State should really come as no surprise. They've been flirting with private equity now for quite a while. They've met with multiple groups. They decided this was the best one. And let's not get it twisted. 8-figure deal. When you hear the terms 8-figure deal, in our mind, it sounds like a lot. In the mind of a college athletics department, it's really not that much. It's a minor loan. They're also doing an $800 million renovation to Beaver Stadium, which to me is completely upside down and backwards. Does it need it? Yes. But you're using it 8 times a year. You're using a building 8 times a year and you're putting $800 million into it. There's a million other ways I would take the money that they're spending, that $800 million that they're spending on the stadium itself, and apply it in other parts of the community. I think State College is beautiful. I love going there. It's one of my favorite places to visit, frankly, outside of, maybe the second to last or the last week of the year, but it gets really, really chilly and icy. But it's a really neat place. But I think this makes sense almost entirely due to the fact that they're going to have to spend a ton of money on a building that's not going to generate the same amount of revenue as it would had it been used in other places.
With some of the folks that I talked to involved in private equity, that was one of the main ways that they explained some of the usages could operate to me. And that would be, you put that money into that stadium, the naming rights obviously are going to change, and they'll take control of it, and then they will control the usage of it outside of those football games. So you'll get concerts, you'll get events. There may be other things that they can put into it, whether it's different sponsorships, maybe tours, whatever. They're going to find different ways to capitalize on, like you said, only using it 8 times a year. They're going to be able to go find ways to use it more often. And that's a way that they can generate more revenue, potentially be able to pay that revenue back. Because as you have talked about before on the show, private equity is not giving this money up for fun.
No.
And the pencils will now be pushed, and people are going to be held more accountable, and the operation of some of the finances is going to be very different. And I don't know if that necessarily means, okay, this is what's going to signify we're going to lose some Olympic sports or people are going to necessarily lose their jobs, but some of the irresponsible spending, not pointing fingers at UCLA or Penn State, that we have seen across college football, when you go this route, that's going to stop pretty quickly.
Correct. And also, it's more about the structure. Are the terms really favorable? What did they do as far as the what's the rate on the debt? Like I've never understood why a program, and it's just me. Obviously, it's going to be extremely favorable terms for the private equity. Now, everybody wants in, so maybe they get a little better rate than you would assume. Maybe it's not 10%, maybe it's 8%, but still, it's pretty high. This is a program or an athletic department that's going to operate in the red or at least it has been operating in the red or will be operating in the red when you take the $20.5 million out of it. Why would you do a deal that is structured around debt? That's what I can't figure out. Like, okay, you're going to find alternative sources of revenue. I get that. That's the whole, and believe me, the private equity group wouldn't do it if it didn't make sense. But there are so many alternative structures that you could do within private equity where you would not lose control, but you also are not going to just take on the burden of debt where you're just borrowing money at a high rate. I don't understand why that's the route that these two programs are taking, because there's other private equity groups out there that are making a completely different structure, a unique structure that would not lead to a ton of debt being created, but would lead to significant amount of inflow being created as opposed to the debt that's being taken on. It seems safe. You're basically just taking out a loan. It seems safe, but I don't know how the numbers make sense when you're already going to be operating at a deficit this year.
So it'll be interesting to see where we go next and how this is going to operate, where private equity money actually goes once it enters college athletic departments, what it's used for, maybe what changes within them, how things going to operate. Other news around college sports quickly. Murray State takes out Duke 5-4 yesterday. Murray State 44-15 on the season. They're heading to the College World Series. Pretty cool story. Here's their College World Series field. Arkansas, LSU. Unfortunately, they will meet in the first round. You also have Louisville, Arizona, UCLA, Coastal Carolina, and Murray State. So you go SEC times 2, ACC, Big 12, Big 10, Pac-12, and Sun Belt, and then obviously Murray State, your last team to be able to get in. So I think it's a pretty cool field. You have two big underdogs as far as program size to be able to pull against. I mean, Coastal has a national championship. I don't know if you can reference them as just flat underdogs, but it's a cool story for them to be back. A couple of schools that haven't made a lot of recent appearances that have great baseball tradition in Arizona and UCLA. And then one from the ACC in Louisville and 2 SEC teams. Of course, Arkansas, one that I think a lot of people, Greg, probably going to be rooting for after the missed foul ball a couple of years ago.
Yep.
We had a chance to seal a national championship. They seem to have the consensus best bats, best pitching staff in this field. But going to be a fun College World Series either way, just based on who's in it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think we had said it kind of a moment ago when we were sitting in the office. Like, it's really cool that there's an ACC team, a Pac-12 team, 2 small schools, 2 SECs, a Big 12 in Arizona. It feels like a regionally appropriate map with the Big 10 team, a traditional Big 10 team in UCLA. It's pretty cool when you look at all of just how it's kind of spread out regionally and hopefully leads to a compelling tournament as far as consumability and how much people are watching it.
Tell our listeners about the cottages at Smith Lake before we go to break.
Well, the cottages at Smith Lake are absolutely beautiful. It's your opportunity right now to go and purchase a lake experience. Look, I'm raising my kids on the lake. I think there's no better place to spend time as a family. And now is a great opportunity to become a homeowner on one of the prettiest lakes here in the Southeast, really nationwide. I mean, Smith Lake is gorgeous. It's absolutely beautiful. And on Saturday, June 21st, they will be opening. It's the grand opening celebration at the cottages at Smith Lake. There's 50 acres that they've secured of woodlands on the west side of the lake, which is the great side, really beautiful. But they're also designated with gate access, secured gate access, picnic area, boat ramp, community docks, walking trail, saltwater pool, and more, all walkable, all golf cart friendly. They have 120 home sites within that 50-acre plot, but those home sites have lake views, and they also feature 6 unique custom cottage models for your perfect dream lake home. So as your tiny homes, they're going to be functional, they're going to be great for the family, and you can get to experience the lake at a much, much lower price point than you would if you were to go with a massive home, and won't be the overhead as well. So I highly recommend you checking out the grand opening on June 21st of the cottages at Smith Lake. Joseph Carter Realty is the one that's going to be in charge of it. And this will be a great opportunity. So don't miss it. Saturday, June 21st. For more information, call 256-747-7459, or you go online at thecottagesatsmith.com.
Paul Feinbaum talks house settlement next on Mac and Cube in the morning. Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. He usually joins us on Mondays, making up a visit from yesterday from ESPN, the SEC Network, and hear him right here 2 to 6 p.m. on Jocks. It's Paul Feinbaum.
Lift it, load it, grade it, grind it, move it, haul it, rig it, dig it, crane works, rental works, yeah! The big dog's got it.
Paul Feinbaum on Mac and Cube in the morning is brought to you by Craneworks. Lift it, buy it, rent it, the big dog's got it. Now, Paul Feinbaum.
Paul, great to have you in on a Tuesday instead of a Monday. House settlement, maybe the biggest Friday news dump we've ever seen, specifically in the world of college football. Were there any big surprises from what you saw in it, some of the verbiage, what it may mean, now that you've been able to see it, look through it, and have an idea of what's next for college sports?
Yeah, I think the biggest surprise or maybe disconnect I see is the enthusiasm from college leaders, including Commissioner Sankey, with whom we spoke yesterday, and the disconnect, I think, between the fans who, quite frankly, don't really understand it and are at the point, guys, where they just don't even care. They just want to see the football as opposed to feeling like they're back in high school again trying to understand geometry.
It's It's one where I kind of go back and forth on. Obviously, I think one thing that is negative for the commissioner, all commissioners, is that the judge basically said that everything that they decided is challengeable in the court of law. So everything can be challenged, and if the players decide to challenge, they can do so. But it seems like every single thing that the commissioners wanted, they got, or so it seems. So do you feel like if you had to kind of declare a winner, do you feel like the Power Four won here as we move forward into the future?
Today they did, Greg. You're right, and I think that's why you see such bullishness from the four Power Four commissioners. But I think what's behind the curtain is always what concerns and keeps people that run college athletics up at night. And if something is challengeable, you know enough and play golf with enough attorneys, it will be challenged. And I don't suspect. I know. Attorneys are sitting around right now. They're not sitting. They're actively moving, trying to figure out where the best route is, where the best lawsuit lies. I don't mean to cast aspersions on the entire legal profession, although I will. They're in business to make money, as opposed to what I always thought they were supposed to do, is protect people and defend people and seek the truth and justice. But there will be a bevy of lawsuits. And the same cats who filed this lawsuit, I think, are the ones you have to keep your eyes on. And I think that's where this is going to get uncomfortable. And everybody's speculating on where it goes. I think the second part of it is Congress. I heard everyone yesterday talk about the need to get Congress involved. Well, I don't believe we're any closer to that than we were the day before or a year ago or 3 years ago, because Congress is not a body made to make decisions. The reason why people like divided leadership is that nothing ever gets done, because people in business really don't want anything to get done.
Paul Feinbaum joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. One thing that I've thought about this, Paul, I don't know if you put any consideration to it, thought to it. This is a 10-year deal. What do we think happens at the end of 10 years?
Well, I don't know. I mean, Cole, as you know, 10 years is a million years in the world of college athletics. I mean, considering where we were 10 years ago, at this point, we were still listening to Mark Emmert talk about how there would never, college athletes would never get paid. And you saw the Power Five commissioners starting to take power away. I mean, to me, the most significant thing that's easy to digest is that the NCAA no longer is in the enforcement business. This is not a surprise, because they really haven't been in a long time, which makes me wonder. And I know this new attorney who's in charge talks a good game, just like the last group talked a good game. But is anyone really going to be serious about enforcement? And the answer is no. Because there's still loopholes, there's still ways to cheat, and ultimately, I don't think much has happened here, except the top of the pyramid is going to continue to succeed, and if you're in the middle or the bottom, you have virtually no chance of success. Does
that mean that we are kind of staring down just an inevitability of acknowledgement that the Power Four are going to separate? I mean, it feels like we're just playing a game right now, pretending as if everyone's playing the same game, when in reality, the $20 million is burdensome for the Power Four. It's impossible for the G5. So did this ruling basically declare that this is not an even playing field and it will never be an even playing field in the foreseeable future?
Greg, no one will ever admit that, but you're 100% correct. And I really don't know how most colleges are going to be able to stay in this lane. I think we'll see another Big Bang explosion. I mean, I've heard people talk about, well, it's time for the conferences to leave the NCAA. Well, that's already happened. Yeah, I mean, I'm well aware, as your audience is, that the NCAA baseball tournament's going on. And that's great. It's entertaining, as the softball was, and as all of them are. But that's going to change in time. And I don't think they really know how this next structure is going to look, but someone is going to come up with it. And I thought of all the things I heard yesterday that were portending the future. It didn't get much coverage, but it was the fact that 2 universities are now dealing and accepting private equity. To me, it seems like that's where it's going. And I'm really curious about your next guest, what he thinks about that. But to me, ultimately, college athletics is going to become privatized, and that way, it may not be immediate, but ultimately, that's where it's going.
Paul, we asked a question yesterday on the show, and then I asked it on social media, just kind of as a test to see what would make you stop watching college football. And for you, me, Greg, John, there aren't many things, just plain and simple, that we would stop watching the actual games. But a lot of the responses were that, and then a lot of the responses were how close people are, and a lot of the responses were what you just stated would probably push them over the ledge, and that would be it, and that would be enough, and they would walk away from it. Do you have real fear that some of the markers in front of us could push a ton of people away from watching college football? And because I've voiced it, Greg's children, my children, around the same ages, that's the generation that I fear, because they're not going to have the people telling them how great it is like we did all the time. What should we be scared of as far as fans walking away, potential fans leaving college sports, specifically college football?
I think that generation is a concern, but because they did not grow up where college football, they were as dependent on college football as their parents, grandparents, et cetera. I still don't think there's anything in sports that can replace a Saturday night at Bryant-Denny Stadium or Tiger Stadium or Jordan-Hare Stadium, because I've covered the game a long time, and it keeps getting better because I think the athletes are better, the game is faster, it's more unique, the coverage of it is exponentially better. But there could be a turnoff, but I've heard this before. I remember it was about 30 years ago, a little bit more than 30 years ago, in August, baseball went on strike. It's shut down. And people say, I will never go back to a baseball game. People are still going to baseball games. People went back to football games in the late 80s when the NFL struck for a couple of weeks. So I've never bought into that. Older people in my generation are being turned off, and I don't want to insult many of my friends, but that's not where the action is. You guys know that. I mean, there's so many stories. And Greg, you may have been living in Dallas at the time, but Jerry Jones got a lot of complaints when he went to AT&T Stadium. Actually, you were at Alabama at the time. But the point being, everybody said, I'm not buying season tickets anymore. You know what? He didn't care because they weren't spending enough money anyway. And that's really where it goes. Is your children, are they going at some point going to be benefactors of Alabama and Auburn like you are, and like Greg Byrne and John Cohn-Neves? So that's the challenge. It's always the next generation. The people that are grumpy and say it wasn't like this when I played football in the 70s, we care about what they say on a talk show, but the athletic directors don't really care anymore.
Yeah, I just don't know if the next generation is going to be as charitable towards the university. I just don't see it. Maybe I'm wrong. I would love to be wrong, but we shall see. Looking at kind of where this could go in the near term as far as roster limitations, that's been a huge point of contention. They have the designated student athlete tag, which is beneficial. It gives those players that would be cut an opportunity to play and not count against the roster cap. It seems like there's going to be a pretty swift action here when it comes to roster limits and things like that. Is this purely budgetary? Because they keep citing competitive balance. I don't believe it to be that at all. I feel like it's all budgetary. I'm curious your opinion.
I think everything right now is managing the bottom line. And I think every one of these athletic directors, every one of these coaches, every one of these GMs are prepared for the moment. The one thing that I think that you can never put into the details is the gray area, Greg, and that's how you win. That's how the great coaches have gotten by. I mean, there are a lot of reasons why Nick Saban was successful at Alabama. But one of the biggest reasons was he had so many players layered, whether they were on scholarship, whether they were in the gray shirt, blue shirt, red shirt, whatever they called it. And that's how you succeed. And to me, I don't know where that's going in terms of your question, but the coaches that succeed there, and by the way, they'll be the same coaches who are succeeding today: the Kirby Smarts, the Steve Sarkisians, the Kalen DeBoers, the Brian Kellys, those who have an infrastructure around them and alignment and leadership.
Are you even tired talking about this stuff and ready for just actual football?
Yes, I think everyone's sick of it, and that's why it's a necessary conversation, but you almost have to be a Rhodes Scholar like your co-host to understand it.
Well, next week we'll break down the Georgia secondary with you, Paul. So we'll move right into football. So thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it.
A pleasure. Thank you, guys. Paul
Feinbaum from ESPN, the SEC Network, can hear him right here 2 to 6 p.m. weekdays on Jocks 94.5. And as Paul alluded to, Greg Byrne, the athletic director at Alabama, will join us next right here on Jocks 94.5. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. It is 7:30, Tuesday, June 10th on Jocks 94.5. We'll visit with the Alabama Athletic Director Greg Byrne here in just a moment. Before we do that, I'll tell you about my friends at Gusty Goulas Group. If you're looking for a new home, new real estate in Birmingham, Alabama, it's got to be the Gusty Goulas Group. Why? Well, there are multiple reasons for that. First, served more than 3,000 home buyers and sellers in the greater Birmingham area. Second, over 850 five-star Google reviews. It's not easy to do. Third, brokered by eXp Realty. You can trust Gusty's aggressive and proven selling system. He's got what it takes to attract hundreds of qualified buyers. Most agents are going to start marketing after you list with him, not Gusty. He's out looking now. He knows what you want, what you need, and what's becoming available. So he's going to be able to help you get into that home. Since 2012, Gusty Goulas Group recognized both nationally and locally as Greater Birmingham, Alabama's #1 team in homes sold. So call 205-542-1996 today, 205-542-1996, or Google Gusty Goulas Group and see for yourself, or go to GustyGoulasGroup.com. See that button in the top corner of the page, smash that button for your little information, find out what they think your home is worth. 205-542-1996 or GustyGoulasGroup.com today. We'll continue to effort Greg Byrne, have him here in just a moment. But some of what we referenced with Paul Feinbaum, Greg, of the House settlement, where it is, there's still so many questions that I have out there. I asked him one, he doesn't really have an answer. I do agree with him that 10 years in college sports is beyond an eternity. I mean, Paul said, think about where we were 10 years ago. Think about where we were 5 years ago.
Yeah.
In college sports. I mean, hell, 5 months ago. And then some of the things that we're talking about now that we weren't talking about then. So I'm just interested. Has anybody looked at the end of the road here and said, well, we're just going to redo it again? Are we think we're not going to need one? I don't know what the response to that realistically would be. You and I have asked the question, and I mean, we asked in jest occasionally, but in all reality, why did we stop at 2016 with the back payment? I mean, is that when college football got good? Is that when people thought that advertising should start to use college football players? I don't know the answer to it. I mean, you had to draw a line in the sand somewhere, I guess. So sorry, 15ers, you're out.
Out.
You get nothing. So I think that there are a lot of questions that we look at. You brought up the roster limits. I mentioned this with the Memphis Touchdown Club last night. They asked me about that, and I said, I'm just going to be honest with you guys. I have asked 10 college administrators. I've asked 5 people that cover the sport and written articles about this. No one can give me a satisfactory answer on why we're doing this. I am with you. I think it is financially driven. I think it's a way to say, we know this much money is going to this sport, this much money is going to this sport, and this is how many people are going to be involved in it, and we can draw the line right there.
Correct.
We don't have to say, well, this year all of our walk-ons were fifth-year seniors. They all decided to stay. Oh, no, we have 20 more people. How are we going to pay all these people on our football team? Or 5 super seniors stuck around our basketball team. Now where do we get that extra $800,000, whatever it is, to be able to give them the revenue share that they deserve or legally now have to get? So
correct.
But the satisfactory answers in some of that, I'm not sure that I've gotten them yet.
Well, what people don't realize is while the walk-ons are not receiving financial aid, they still get taped just like everybody else. They still have access to facilities just like everybody else. They still require equipment just like everybody else. They still require hands-on training with, in some cases, volunteers. But they still go through the strength and conditioning program like everybody else. They still drink Gatorade like everybody else. They still have a seat on the plane when they travel just like everybody else. I mean, there are expenses for walk-ons as well. And let's be real. Do you really – I mean, I played in the NFL. We had 60 guys on the team if you include practice squad players. You played a 17-game season. You could easily 20 if you wanted to include the preseason. You could easily take into account 7 or 8 guys that are signed throughout the season. So maybe max you're going through 70 players, maybe throughout the course of a 17-game season, thereabouts. Lose a few guys, sure. Maybe you have a really bad year when you have 10 or 12 guys on IR and you're still able to get through. The reality is if you have 85 scholarship players, do you really need 43 walk-ons? You and I know the importance of the value of the walk-on.
Yes.
And the importance of the walk-on, but it's mostly because that feels collegial. Is it necessary to practice? Is it necessary to be prepared enough to play the game? The answer is no. It's not necessary, but it's the right thing to do. You know what I mean? So I think that's what I struggle with. I just hate that guys are losing the opportunity, but I acknowledge that those guys are expensive. And you can, let's be real, in some cases win without that many. So I don't love it. I also look back at, training camp, and we were able to get through training camp with 105 players. It wasn't a problem. So I don't love that this is happening, but I understand it. And if it's financial, I get it. I don't think it has anything to do with competitive balance. I think it has everything to do with finances. They just don't want to say that. And I get it. I really do. I hate it, but I get it.
But we've talked about private equity coming in, right? We've talked about now you begin to push the pencils. When you have revenue sharing and a certain amount of money that's going to go to football every year, what do you have? You start to draw those lines. You get the pencils out. And you have to budget a little bit better because now that money's got to be distributed. So if the numbers are different year in, year out, you have to make that up. And you probably doubt that you're going to have a surplus most years. And if you did, there are probably a lot of places that immediately could and would go. On the flip side of that, what pencil pushers won't take into consideration, and you and I both know this, is the story of the walk-on. And Texas A&M has almost an entire culture built around this.
Correct.
Literally one of the pillars of the foundation of their athletics program is built upon this, and that's going to be stripped away. We've seen all the videos, and I have been hard on a lot of the videos that have come out recently because I do believe that the vast majority of them are for show. And I also don't believe that a lot of people understand that when it's 2 days before the first game or 2 days before school starts, and Johnny, the backup kicker, gets a scholarship and the team goes crazy, there was no one else to give the scholarship to. And he's not going to have it after football season, more than likely. So I know some of the workarounds that happen with these, but that doesn't mean that there aren't a lot of guys that go out there and bust it for 3 or 4 years and then do get put on scholarship and it lasts a year or 2 years and they end up playing a little bit and they end up helping the team or making a big play. That's the story that the pencil pushers can never come up with and never have an answer for and are getting rid of in college athletics that to me is ultimately disappointing. You and I, you talk about it from the perspective of practice, reps, pounding, guys that can take different hits away that can help you survive a season. But it's those other stories of, everybody needs to see a guy go out there and overachieve on a regular basis or see somebody who has less than you, whether it's God-given talent, whether it is speed, athleticism, whether it's opportunity in sports, and put forth more effort than you do every day. We all need to see that on the other side of the field and say, damn, I need to be more like him. Like if he can give that effort, then I sure can. Like I get to go to Sewell Hall and eat dinner tonight. He doesn't. It's an amazing example, but those are the things, like one of the responses to my question about, what would make you stop watching college football was someone going into about how the administrators should listen to fans. Well, that's not going to happen because they're not running a sport for fans. They're now running sports to make money, and the fans don't have the answers that they want to that. Now, they need the fans for that, but your answers are not what they need to be able to find that and make that happen. So that's where I think a lot of the disconnect is coming now, Greg, is there are some things deep inside the fabric of college football that have helped make it great that are just going to go away. And we've talked about whether it's rivalries, walk-ons, conferences, teams playing in certain conferences, whether it's geographics, a lot of that is now dead and gone and most likely never going to get it back.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate. I don't like it. I frankly hate it, but I also understand at the same time it's necessary. Like if are we better suited being able to have 23 additional walk-ons, or are we better suited being able to fully fund the women's softball team, the women's tennis team, the swim and diving team, the other sports that would also need the finances and the resources? And frankly, I love the walk-ons. I really do. My heart breaks in the possibility that guys won't get to play college football at the school of their dreams. That makes me really upset. I hate that. And I know it's a reality, but I also want the Olympic sports to have an opportunity as well. So if it means sacrificing 23 walk-ons for the football team when you can probably get by with 105, do you really need 128? Do you really need 4 kickers? Probably not. Do you really need 4 snappers and 3 punters? Probably not. Do you need do you need that many walk-ons? No, you don't. But you do need swimmers and divers that are now going to have resources and support because that team, that player, that person might actually be contributing to the team's success in game. So, yeah, I mean, I hate it. And I think you're going to have to be a little more strategic, too. You can't just take everybody, which will put a little more of an onus on the front office for each of these organizations. But, we'll see. I don't love it. It just still feels gross to me. But it's a necessary evil if you want other sports to flourish.
Spring weather in Alabama can be unpredictable. That's why you need the reliability of a Trane, voted America's most trusted HVAC brand. Right now, you can receive up to a 10-year warranty on parts and labor on select Trane home comfort systems. Find out more at Trane.com. It's hard to stop a Trane. We'll continue to effort Greg Byrne on the other side. Get to a break, come back, talk more about private equity in college football, the House settlement, and more next.
Thanks, Cole. What I'd like to do today is talk about something that none of us really like to think about, which is market volatility. And particularly as you near retirement, it's very important that you're not overexposed to risk with too much of your investment money, because for most of you, you're going to need that money to live on. If you've got too much risk in your investments and we go through a big market downturn and you're pulling money out at the same time, now you're having to sell when markets are down to pay your bills. That's called sequence of returns risk. That and the strategies on how to insulate you from that, we cover in our Retire with Freedom course that we do at our office on Valley Dale Road. If you would like to attend the next course, we cover that and many other strategies for retirement planning. Text JOCKS at 205-988-0006, 205-988-0006.
This is a paid placement. Investment advisory services are made available through AE Wealth Management. For more information about Forbes rankings, visit Forbes.com.
Hurry in to DQ for their sauced and tossed chicken strip baskets with flavor from the top, bottom, and everywhere in between. Try them today in Honey Barbecue or New Buffalo, only at DQ. Happy tastes good, only at participating Dairy Queen locations.
Tired of pretending to work? Now you can really waste time like a pro.
All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Apparently, I had an Arizona number still for Greg Byrne, which I passed to John Saber. So we've clarified that now, and we have him on the Higginbotham hotline. Don't know if that Arizona number is still good, Greg, but either way, I'll delete it out of the phone, and we'll just go with the 205 number now. Moving ahead. Thanks for joining us this morning. How are you?
You betcha. I'm doing fine. Good morning to y'all.
We are trying to make sense of the roster limitations that are now going to be in place with the new House settlement. Is there an easy way you can explain that to us and our listeners? We just have not been able to get a satisfactory answer as to how and why there is a need to go this way moving forward.
Yeah, in summary, we've always had scholarship limits, in college sports. So football is 85, men's basketball, I think it's 13, baseball famously 11.7. And you had to balance your scholarship numbers with Title IX. Well, the courts have determined that scholarship limits are illegal. And so now, but they in the settlement on the House litigation that just was signed by Judge Wilkin last week, both the plaintiffs and the defendants worked out a model where you have roster limits by sports, because everybody that you have in your athletic department, whether it's a student athlete, whether it's an employee, costs money. And so you have, there was decided that we just can't have unlimited people, just like even, people would talk about our football staff at Alabama. We still put, limits on how many people we had. And so basically, in a nutshell, it was decided between the plaintiffs and the defendants that each sport would have a roster limit. Football was at 105. Well, we have decided as the Southeastern Conference that we're going to have 85 scholarships, so we are still going to have 20 walk-ons. And so the walk-ons will still be there. You won't be carrying 130, 140 like some schools have done in the past. It's just going to be a roster number that you have to work within on an annual basis, and that will go for every team, every sport.
Looking at the roster limits, I know that was the biggest hurdle, or I guess the most recent, the final hurdle, I guess, for Judge Claudia Wilkin. But it seems like things are settled there. I understand the reasoning behind it. I don't love it, but I get it. You know what I mean? It's kind of one of those things. I'm sure you probably feel the exact same way. The thing I'm most excited about with the House settlement, though, is the College Sports Commission and how it's kind of a neutral party that can create enforcement. It's basically the new NCAA as far as enforcement and making sure NIL's right. The NIL Go is going to be helpful as well. A system of checks and balances, essentially. So help us understand exactly what that College Sports Commission will look like and how it will make sure that the playing field is as level as humanly possible.
Yeah, so that was, again, part of the House settlement. And Greg, you actually gave a good summary of all the different areas it's going to try to touch. But basically, we have lived in an unregulated market for the last 4 years. Some states have been very aggressive in trying to at the state level deal with protecting their university and saying they shouldn't have rules. And that led to basically the NCAA saying, hey, we're getting sued everything we do right now, so we're going to go ahead and not do anything, which then led to more of an unregulated market. Nothing lasts long term that doesn't have some type of regulation. And the steps that have been taken from the House settlement gives an opportunity for us to have a regulated market. The College Sports Commission is going to be overseeing that, and basically any NIL deal for a young man or a young woman that's over $600 is going to have to go through the clearinghouse that Deloitte has put together. They have a formula that basically will say, yeah, this thing passes smell tests, or no, this thing doesn't. The formula is not going to be released because everybody's going to say, well, they're going to try to figure out how to get around it if it's released. And so young men and young women who have legitimate opportunities for name, image, and likeness deals will be able to submit those. And if they pass, which private donation ones are going to struggle on that side, but legitimate business opportunities, they will be okay. Now, you're not going to get $500,000 just showing up for an ice cream shop and putting it out on Instagram anymore. And that because, Greg, when you were in the NFL, and Cole, and I can't remember, Cole, I'm sorry if you played in the NFL or not. That's my fault.
I was not that good of a football player. It was okay.
You weren't quite Greg McElroy?
Not quite.
That's what we all strive to be, of course, that good a player. Give me a break.
Understandably. I would have loved to have been as good a player as either of you.
Yeah.
But in reality, Greg, when you were in the NFL, most guys didn't have a lot of marketing deals at the highest level of football. Now, quarterbacks would, some skill guys would, a big impact lineman maybe would, but it wasn't across the team, but they didn't have recruiting. And so what's happened, in college sports, you have recruiting, and so it's put the pressure to create name, image, and likeness deals that maybe didn't pass the smell test from a market value standpoint. And so that's going to have some regulation. The College Sports Commission will be overseeing that. And I'm getting to the point in my life and my career. I got gray hair. I want to finish my career at Alabama. I don't want to be anywhere else if at all possible. And, so I'm willing to probably say some things that I wouldn't maybe 10 years ago. It's been amazing to me, all the people that have been out there saying, oh, this won't work, this won't work. It's mostly anonymous sources who are saying that. And it's by publications at time that benefit from the unregulated market that we've been in. And what I think from listening to football coaches in the SEC, that my peers at the other SEC institutions, there is a real desire to make this work. And there is arbitration on things that we wouldn't be able to arbitrate before. So that gives both sides an opportunity to be heard when there's challenges that arise. It's not perfect, but it's a heck of a lot better than where we were. And when I was waiting for the call, I heard you all talking about the Olympic sports and the roster numbers there and the opportunities there. We have such a challenging model because we have two sports that turn profit at Alabama. We have football and men's basketball. We have 19 sports that don't. Our smallest net financial losers from a financial standpoint, they're all important programs when I say this. So please don't say, well, Greg Byrne is saying that, not to talk in third person, but Greg Byrne is saying these sports aren't important. They absolutely are important. But our two smallest net losers are men's and women's tennis. Each lose about $1 million. And then everybody else is more than that. And we really work hard to contain our costs on an annual basis. And and from a financial standpoint, we're in a pretty good position compared to most schools out there. But it's still challenging the new model because now we have a new $20.5 million line item from a rev share standpoint, which I think is the right thing to do. We're going to fully fund it, but we got to have that money come from somewhere. And so it's a bit of a tightrope you're walking right now, and we're going to do everything we can to support our student athletes to make sure we have the fiscal responsibility that we need to have, and be able to have a very competitive environment within our athletic department.
How much? I guess back to the NIL go quickly, and I understand all of that, but what does a penalty look like for those that refuse to adhere to the authentic NIL opportunities? Do you punish the school? Do you punish the player? How do they anticipate handling that?
Well, so if there's a deal that is flagged saying it's not legitimate or it's above range of compensation, fair market value, was the terms that are being used, then the student athlete has an opportunity to renegotiate the deal, then resubmit it. If they don't think that's right, then there's an arbitration that can happen with that. The goal is to have it be handled very, very quickly and efficiently, and we need that to happen. If they go ahead and play the young man or young woman when it has been deemed not a legitimate deal, there will be consequences. Anything from eligibility to there's differing levels. To be honest, I'm learning about how all that works right now. I'll have a better answer for you in 6 months from now. But there are checks and balances from a consequence standpoint that hopefully we'll have some teeth to it, to where people will say, hey, I got to live within the rules that have been created.
Greg Byrne, Alabama Athletic Director, joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. You may have also heard our discussion then on some fear that we have of future fans of college sports. You and I have had some conversations about fans in the future and what their habits will be and how different most likely they will be, mainly from a donation standpoint. And I know years ago you were already beginning to prepare for that. How can you prepare? What can you do to try to retain fandom and maybe continue to grow fandom? At a place like Alabama, that sounds ridiculous, but when you look at where things are headed and some of the things that people are saying, there has to be a portion of everyone that looks at this and says, we have to try to protect this in a way because it's not going to be talked about the same. It's not going to be passed down the same way. How do we continue to generate the same kind of fanaticism that we've had for over 100 years?
Yeah, obviously the fans are critical. And I know sometimes people say, well, the athletic department doesn't care about the fans. That's a bunch of hooey. Now, we may not charge the prices they want us to charge. And I understand and appreciate the fact that people are trying to make, their budgets work and be a part of things that they're interested in, which we're fortunate we have so many fans at Alabama. So we need to make sure we're doing everything we can to give them a good product out on the fields and courts. At the same time, to give them hopefully outside of the stadium from the time they get there to the time they get to their seats, hopefully as efficient a process as possible. communicate with them, tell them what's going on. One of the really good things now, as we've been trying to encourage everybody to give to Yale, Alabama, the collective part of donations are going to be very limited going forward. And so what we've tried to convert Yale, Alabama to, and we're in the process of doing, is more of a content site, a marketing site. So when people give money and the entry points are very low, I think it's $25 a month, they get content in return. We've broken a number of stories. Phylon coming back came through Yale, Alabama. Hiring a Grubb came through Yale, Alabama. We just signed Rob Vaughn to a contract extension that came through Yale, Alabama. Then we're kind of giving behind the curtain access to the program, so people feel, hey, connection and something I can't get anywhere else. So we are trying to evolve with what the services that we offer to our fans, and at the same time too, we have to make sure the fans understand why we are changing the way we did. Coach Saban said to me multiple times in private meetings, and he has said it publicly, the dinosaurs didn't adapt. We've got to continue to adapt and evolve in what we're doing. And that's important because at the end of the day, one of the things that I think gives us an opportunity with the settlement, you notice nobody on our football team went in the transfer portal in the spring. I think because people have been preparing for what's ahead from a rev share standpoint, and some of the crazy dollars we saw in basketball this year, especially on the men's side, but some of the crazy dollars are starting to slow down. And so it's a good thing to where all of a sudden they're saying, you know what, maybe it's really good where I am. And on top of that, educationally, heaven forbid that we talk about that, as you guys know, the more you transfer, the less of an opportunity you have to graduate and really get a degree that you may be interested in. And so it's really, I think what I am hopeful and optimistic about is that with the House settlement, there may be an opportunity here to slow some of the chaos that's been down. And I think the fans will like that. They like having an identification with the young man or young woman who's been there 2, 3, 4 years. And then on top of that, those young men and young women get their roots set in the ground at the institution, and it's harder for them to disrupt that and move on to elsewhere. And guys, we're seeing the stats. I'm doing this a little bit off the top of my head, but there was an article a little bit about the drafts. The guys that got drafted in the NFL this year, the ones who transferred multiple times, weren't drafted as high on average as the guys that stayed at one place. There's value to having your roots there. Cole, with you at Auburn, Greg, you at Alabama, you went through that process. You learned about resilience and hard work and competition, and I'm not going to play in as many snaps as I want, so I'm going to go transfer someplace else and give it a try. That's not how life works. And so I think there's an opportunity for us to hopefully slow it down a little bit with this settlement. But there also has to be a commitment from all the institutions to say, hey, we're going to make this work, and that's what we're going to do our very best to be a part of at Alabama.
Greg Byrne joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. It's been a great conversation on the House settlement, revenue sharing. One more quickly, please, if you don't mind, just private equity. Is it something that you've considered? Is it something that you've looked at? Is it something that you could foresee a lot more schools maybe relying on in the future, as it's now been made public that UCLA and Penn State have taken that route?
Well, so their ADs both came out yesterday and denied that.
Okay.
So my point in all that is we have had all sorts of people from private equity come at us. We're Alabama, so people have, they often want to have us involved in different things. And I have not seen a model that makes any sense whatsoever. Private equity is not going to care about Olympic sports. They're not going to care about the academics and what the responsibilities we have there. They are bottom line driven. They're really good at what they do. Could I see a program ever doing that? I guess, but private equity is going to want their return. And I talked to a lot of them, have brought in people from the professional sports ranks to be involved with what they're doing. And we've had conversations with them, and some of them have said, well, have you thought about doing this? And I'm like, well, yeah, we've been doing this for 4 years, and not to say that we got it all figured out. We aren't open-minded. We are, but at the same time too, at some point you're going to have to pay the piper if you have private equity. And so you better make sure that you can far exceed the growth that you can do on your own if you're going to bring somebody else in, because, we do have a responsibility in so many different ways that maybe doesn't make a lot of business sense, but it's important to the fiber and the fabric of what college athletics represents.
Greg, great stuff. Thank you so much for the time. Greatly appreciate it.
Thanks,
and
guys.
hope we can do it again soon.
All right, roll tide.
You too. Greg Byrne, Athletic Director at Alabama, joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Great insight to the House settlement, revenue sharing, private equity, which I am seeing the Bradford era, an article yesterday saying Pat Kraft, Penn State Athletic Director, says no, they will not be using private equity. Said no affiliation or involvement with any private equity firm or fund. It was reported by Sportico that they were accepting that money. So
we'll see.
Is there a disagreement in the technicalities of what private equity money is or means?
Yes. Something tells me you can define private equity however you choose, but something tells me they're getting some outside revenue or some outside income to help facilitate their stadium project.
We will spend a little bit more time on that. Also, a position that probably doesn't get enough credit that we're going to discuss in football right after this on Mac and Cube in the morning. Great conversation with Greg Byrne in our previous segment. You can go back and grab that, jocksfm.com, Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Also, not just the House settlement, but private equity, as now we have a little bit of back and forth on athletic directors saying they are not going to have that money, have not gone that route, and other folks reporting that they have. So be interesting to see which direction it actually goes, but we don't necessarily know as of now. And a lot of folks still chiming in on how or why they would or would not watch college football any longer. There are a lot of you chiming in on some of the conversation we've been having. 800-239-9569 if you want to get in. You can always be a part of the show there. You can tweet into the show at Mac and Cube. Text into the show 205-834-9450. Unhipster tweets in, are character clauses in scholarships about to be a huge thing? So if an athlete gets into trouble, deals get nullified, schools can claw back money.
I think you'd be foolish in any
hold on.
company.
Is it going to be contractual?
I would imagine.
The revenue sharing money, it will be contractual?
I think it will be. But I also anticipate
This is the part that I just hate so much.
What's that?
We're going to have payroll set up through universities, and we're going to continue to try to walk down this path and saying they're not employees.
They are employees. Whether you want to call them that formally is beside the point. But yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone's suggesting they're not employees. They're being paid directly. Now they're okay. So they're contract labor. They're 1099. Fine. Still employees. Like here at Jocks, I'm 1099. Still an employee of Jocks. Am I not? I think I'm here every day. Like you can structure it however you want. It's really more in the formalities of it. Doesn't really matter. What I think there will be morality clauses though. How could there not be? Like how could you ever feel comfortable, not having a morality clause built into a contract? I just don't know how you could do that.
Hamilton tweets in, listening to the conversation, glad some of the negative repercussions of the system are being discussed. But all these sacrifices, we were talking about money, could all be avoided by making the sacrifice of not paying players to begin with. Well, that's over. That's past. It's gone.
Why are you trying to die on that hill? It's
there
been
are no
it's
should-haves
been
in
gone.
football. If you should have, you would have. So that one included. It's just not a real thing. And just a lot of folks essentially talking about reasons that they won't watch.
I don't believe
can't
you.
watch, move forward anymore. I'm with you because the football's still good. And what are you going to do on a Saturday?
I don't
in the
believe
fall.
you.
Are you going to play mahjong? What are you going to do? Like professional pickleball?
Mahjong's a good sport.
Not a sport, number one.
Yeah, good sport. It's like Texas Hold'em, sport.
I do remember when that debate was real.
Come on. People made that debate?
Oh, yeah. Poker's a sport.
All right. I honestly think this. All right. Hear me out. I started playing Mahjong for the very first time on spring break.
This one or in high school?
This one like 2 months ago.
Okay.
Mahjong wasn't
Was
invented.
it even real then? I don't
Mahjong
know.
wasn't invented in 2006. It might have
I
been.
wanna know
It's
the
like
history, though.
it's like an ancient game, but definitely.
Yeah, because
I'm sure back in the
housewives of,
1300s they were printing out cards and.
Yeah, all the over the
I
mountain
got to get the
housewives act like this thing was-
1492 cards.
this
They
thing
played
was
it on the
invented,
Mayflower coming
like,
over.
6 months ago. How do you even spell this? M-A-J.
Mahjong.
Yeah.
I have a thought.
Okay.
Hear me out. So I've multiple times seen just in actually like public places that are not necessarily conducive to a comfortable, quiet, concentrated environment where ladies are gathered around a table playing mahjong. Kids are running around like crazy. It's absolutely bananas, all this other stuff. Here's my thing. I think for a while, like I was one of these. Mahjong's a ladies' game. I want nothing to do with it. That's what my wife does for fun. I play golf. She plays mahjong. We're good. I have since played those starting on spring break, and I love it. It's really fun. It's really, really fun. It's not that dissimilar to poker. It's just the hands take longer, and but you try to create the best hand with the 14 tiles that you have sitting in front of you.
Do you get stuck paying to play a lot?
Tons of strategy, but basically you're hoping to draw the right tile so that you can line up your hand. It's no different than trying to create a straight or a straight flush or a
Well,
flush.
I just feel like in poker, a lot of times I'm
or,
just paying to play. I'm not paying to. I don't really have a chance to win. It's just
I would love to play with you then.
poker or mahjong.
Both.
I
If
will
you're
do
just
neither.
paying to play, I'm in.
So I said, I feel that way.
It's true. Well, some people are really, really good.
It's the same way with slot machines, I feel like.
But hear me out, okay? What took the world by storm in like 2002 was the World Series of Poker. They put it on
USC
ESPN.
football.
They put it on ESPN. You had Chris Moneymaker, and he won the first World Series of Poker
Greg,
that was ever
played
televised.
He played online.
At pokerstars.net. All right. So he made it,
It's a sport,
won it,
Greg.
and it was like widely consumed at the viewing audience. I think right now I'm going to actively pursue some type of Mahjong League and or Mahjong Championship, and I'm going to put it on television. And I'm going to put it in a place where people would watch it, whether it's direct-to-consumer streaming, what have you.
Yeah, it's Mahjong.tv.
People watch the World Series of Poker. Why would they not watch Mahjong?
Do they still watch it?
No, but
You just said
Mahjong
they
is
do.
the new version.
This is what the House settlement has done to us.
I'm just an entrepreneur. I'm just exercising
All right,
my
for those that-
entrepreneurial spirit.
For those that don't know, Mahjong is a tile-based game developed in the 19th century in China, spread throughout the world since the early 20th century, played by 4 players, some with 3-player variations in parts
You can
of
play
China,
2.
Japan,
That'd be-
South
you
Korea,
can play
Vietnam,
2 as
Southeast
well.
Asia. The game and its regional variants are widely played throughout East and Southeast Asia (parentheses United States), and have also become popular in Western countries.
And it's
What you bring up about poker is very interesting because I vividly remember the explosion, and all of a sudden everybody was an online poker player.
you were probably
and
right out of college. It was probably right after you finished
It
school.
was.
It was like 04 or 5, so that's when.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in
somewhere
high
there,
school,
yeah.
and we would sit there and we'd play. We'd all put $5 in the pot. We'd get quarters, and we would play.
What did that last, like 4 hands?
No, we were playing quarter. It was literally 50-cent big blind, 25%
But
small
you always
blind.
have the one a-hole at the table. It's like he's got to put all his money in the
$2.
second hand.
Oh, we had max outs,
Come
so the
on.
most you could ever put was $1. And you
So
could buy
limit
back
poker.
in. You could
Okay.
buy back in if you wanted to.
Did you guys ever play Boo-Ray in college?
No. Played spades.
Win and lose fast in that one.
I played spades and dominoes with bones.
War?
Didn't play a lot of war.
You played
Uno?
spades and dominoes.
Yes.
Okay.
What's that supposed to mean?
Just a little surprising, that's all.
Why?
Because you're football smart.
Yeah. Didn't think coaches on the field fraternized with the others, but okay, cool.
All right, so are you predicting
You're the worst.
that Mahjong is the next poker of 2004
He's hoping
5
because he's going to televise it.
I'm telling you, I think Mahjong is on the cusp of an absolute cultural explosion.
Oh God.
I'm telling you, it's already there with a lot of women. Now it's about if the men start to play, which I would highly encourage anybody to play. The thing is, you won't get invited. Well, I was invited exclusively because they needed a 4th player. Like, you won't get invited. It's like a small little fraternity. Like, oh, you stay away.
It's more of a sorority.
We don't need your testosterone over here for this. But I'm telling you, it's really, really fun. And now that I've played, I'm not necessarily hooked. Like, if they told me I couldn't play Mahjong for 2 months, I'm not going to freak out.
Mahjong or trouble?
Mahjong.
Mahjong or sorry?
Mahjong.
Mahjong or shoots and ladders?
Mahjong.
I think I'll take all those above Mahjong.
Mahjong or Monopoly? Mahjong. Mahjong or Life?
Monopoly with 5-year-old stuff.
I'm pretty big on Life. We also play Shut the Box, which is a very popular
I
game.
haven't played that one.
That's a fun one. You'd like it. The kids can play that one, which is really fun. As long as they do simple math, it's really fun.
Mahjong or Crazy Eights?
Mahjong.
Mahjong or Go Fish?
Mahjong.
Wow.
Go Fish stinks. Mahjong or Uno? Uno's pretty fun.
So my daughter got this all wild Uno game.
Yes.
I try to explain.
What is all wild? They're all wild?
Exactly. I try to
Why-
explain.
doesn't make
She
sense.
sits there and she's like, every card is a version of a wild card. And I was like, sweetheart, do you realize you can just play your hand out?
Correct.
You're done.
You never.
She's like, no, your turn. I'm like, no, it
whoever
isn't.
gets to
You
go
skipped-
first.
You skipped me, and it's your turn again. And it's another wild. Like, you just keep going. This is not fun. She's like, I want to do the all wild game. I said, it's one hand. It's one turn.
It's
Literally, you
seven
play all your
rounds.
cards and it's over. I can't beat any of your cards because it doesn't even become my turn.
Well, don't you get wilds?
Yes, but she always starts, so therefore it's over.
Yeah, so she does before.
She's just like bam, 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 bam. I was like,
so
that
just
wasn't
starting.
fun.
Why don't you say, hey, I'll play all wilds, but I'm starting.
That's not the way it works in our house. She gets to go first.
Fair enough.
All right, so
I think there's
what
an
else
opportunity
what else
here.
compares to what else has taken over culturally a game like poker did for a long period of time, and now you think mahjong is going to? What else is in this realm of pop culture, of society that has taken over that we fell in love with that maybe is not going to last?
That has had absolutely absurdly ridiculous growth in a short period of time.
Outside of NASCAR and soccer.
Pickleball is the only other one that I can
good
think
one.
of.
That's a good one.
Where you literally have never played, you play once, and you're like, that was awesome. I want to play again.
Yeah, had never heard of it, and then 2 months later, your entire neighborhood's playing.
Correct. Like literally has never heard of it. And the next one is now Padel, Padel, which is it's basically pickleball. I don't know the difference. There was a period
I've never
though.
heard of this.
Padel, Padel.
Yeah, I have two of them on my bike.
Yes.
Each of a pair of foot-operated levers used for powering a bicycle.
Yeah. Not Pedal, Padel.
So she went from her Vegas residency and singing "Hello" and "Set Fire to the Rain" to coming up with this game.
I used to get spankings with one. But I really think about it. Like, I think that if you were to take mahjong and put it on television, people would watch. Now, you might need to put it on Lifetime or the Oprah Winfrey Network or something like that.
Tubi.
Or HGTV. If you put a mahjong show on HGTV, we're cooking with gas. Telling you we're cooking with gas. Executive producer, I'll bankroll it. It can't cost very much. The
None
tiles
of these
are
ladies
expensive.
care about what other people are doing, though. They just want to play. Like you said, it's social. They want to sit down and they want to badmouth all the other moms and talk about whose kids are the worst and what clothes they bought. They don't want to watch. I've never heard somebody who plays mahjong. I don't know a lot of them. None of them were sitting around saying, did you hear about Betty Sue's mahjong win yesterday?
Yeah, she did the 2025 line.
She's like Shohei. She's the first 50-50.
Did you want to watch people play poker?
You see the first 50-50 mahjonger ever?
Did you want to watch people play poker?
You want my honest answer?
Yes.
Absolutely not.
But people did.
I never got locked into it. I never thought it was cool. Now, do I enjoy playing occasionally? I'm not good at it, but yes.
People
do
did.
I like to watch other people play? No.
People did.
I'm not saying they didn't.
Just because you didn't doesn't mean other people didn't.
But there were people also liked the fact that there was a bracelet. Oh, it's dumb even saying it.
Here we go.
And $1 million cash
That's
on the
why
table.
people watched it. You telling me there's not a World Series of Mahjong? Oh, World Series of Mahjong. There it is.
Where is it?
Privately sponsored Mahjong tournament. Both men and women are eligible for this contest. Top finishers receive prize money.
It's private.
World Series of
Augusta
Mahjong.
National?
The WASM was established by the World Mahjong Limited in 2007. A designer from Hong Kong won the first tournament. It's in Macau. We got action.
Sounds easily accessible to everyone.
Damien,
poll question. Have you ever played Mahjong?
They've only had four. They've only had four ever. Last one in 2015. So there's an opportunity here.
Oh, it's like the Olympics. They do it once every 4 years.
Once every 8 years or 9.
Got it. Because it's that important.
Telling you.
Do people gamble on Mahjong?
Yes.
You are the literal gambling king of jocks. And I'm telling you that the reason people fell in love with poker was because of gambling and money. And that's not really included in this. The Real Housewives of Over the Mountain. That's not why they play. So it can't grow as fast and be as popular if there's not millions of dollars on the line.
No, I think it can't grow as fast.
Who is the guy from the backwoods that got rich all of a sudden from playing this game? Because we got to have that guy to make it popular. Or that lady. It could be Tammy. who all of a sudden went online and played Mahjong and got rich. And then now Tammy Moneymaker is going to get us all involved in Mahjong. We have to have that, though. This isn't going to work for fun.
Oh, Tammy's, she's Danny's brother. Okay. All right, cool.
They played in the World Mahjong Championship was in Virginia recently.
Until Misty comes out and wins the Mahjong tournament and becomes a millionaire,
here's the thing.
It's not going to grow at the rate you think it is.
I think one of the challenges is that it's actually it's very, very hard. Like you have to have a puzzle brain.
That sounds awesome.
You have to identify patterns. You have to be able to.
What if I'm good at doing mazes or Mad Libs?
I can't speak to that. I don't know.
Don't act like Mad Libs aren't great.
Mad Libs are dumb.
Here we go.
They are.
But your tile game in a language you don't know is really cool.
Yes. I'm looking at this guy from Hong Kong that's really, really good.
800-239-9569. I need to hear from other listeners that they have played Mahjong and enjoy it. Not just have you played, do you enjoy it?
It's really fun. I'd watch other people play.
I'm going to put this up there, and sometimes dare I go out on a limb by myself, but I feel like others may join me. We are riding side by side right now down the alley of death at your dumbest take in the history of this show next to your music take that Chingy is the greatest rapper of all time.
I love how that's become such a staple here in the show.
Well, when you say that, it kind of has to.
Well, it was said tongue in cheek, but it's become commonplace.
Well, if that's the case, then your Jay-Z one.
That Jay-Z's slightly overrated?
I think there was a little more oomph behind it the last time you said it.
Jay-Z's more slightly overrated. Jay-Z is slightly overrated.
Oh, that was Freudian.
Jay-Z's overrated. Fine. Remove slightly. Not saying he's not good. Just saying I don't think he's on the Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
It's personal opinion.
At Mac and Cube, you can tweet it.
He's no Chingy.
Russell Terry says never heard of her. Greg Skipper says glad we're talking Mahjong now instead of October.
What's October?
If we're talking, he's saying instead of in October.
Oh.
If we talk Mahjong in October, I might walk.
We got problems. The season's gone really poorly for Alabama and Auburn if we're on Mahjong in October.
That would make us stop watching football if we're talking Mahjong in October.
That could be what stops people from watching football. Mahjong becomes too popular.
Pete, I can't do that. Christian Cooper says dodgeball and holy moly are coming on.
Now,
boy Joe Tess on it?
Are they?
Holy moly. Holy moly, I watched it because Joe was on it, but I thought it was a good show.
Pete Moss tweets in, the offseason, I don't know what bothers me more, talking Mahjong on my sport radio or Greg has me enthralled and I'm all in.
I think if your brain is good at puzzles, if your brain is good at patterns, I highly encourage you to try it. I'm telling you, I have a
question for you.
I'll tell you what I can't play. I can't play chess. Like I struggle badly with chess because I cannot forecast the moves. Like some people, though, their brain is phenomenal at these things. Phenomenal. Absolutely incredible. But I struggle with it.
How are you with checkers?
Checkers is fine. That I can. I think my.
Is that also a dumb person's game?
My brain is smooth enough to handle
like
checkers.
Mad Libs?
Yes.
Pass me all the dumb people games.
It's not a dumb person game. It's just a simple game.
I'm in for all the dummy games. War, Go Fish,
it's not a
Mad
dumb
Libs.
Game. It's a great game.
A
it's
maze,
a traditional game.
An 8-piece puzzle.
8-piece?
Not 80. 8.
Love that.
We have a great suggestion of activity, game, whatever you want to call it, that took over the nation, took over popular culture. When we come back, and Greg answers this question. Why are you doing this? Next on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. We have completely shifted gears from $2.8 billion in lost NIL back pay and $20.5 million in revenue sharing and 8-figure private equity deals to mahjong.
I just noticed there being an opportunity here. Like, if people are going to stop watching college football, you can just start watching mahjong, and I'm going to profit off of it.
Or maybe you should. Maybe I bet you could probably you have the ability to do a mahjong show here, a mahjong podcast. We have an entire studio in the back you can go do a mahjong podcast in.
Golly, that's a great idea. The opportunity
you could play, live stream it.
Yeah.
Just stream it up.
There are a lot of avenues, man.
Golly, just
I get John at Pizza Pulls to build you a whole stream system.
Making money is just so easy. All you got to do is just lean into Maj.
So I'll ask the question that I promised our listeners before the break that I would ask. Why are you doing this?
What am I doing?
Why are you walking out on the mahjong limb?
Because it's good.
You're not dying on it yet, but you're running out of oxygen.
Because it's good. I would be willing to bet that most that have played probably know what I'm talking about. While confusing.
Zens are good. You don't come on the show and try to convince people to do those.
Well, because more for me.
So you want less mahjong now?
What's that?
You want less mahjong, or you trying to grow the pool?
No, I'm trying to grow the pool. I'm trying to get the boys together to play a
Because
little
you think
Maj.
you can take people's money in this game?
No, it's not really like a gambling game. I mean, you could gamble on it always. Like, there's always a way to gamble, but it's really nowhere. I don't know. It's just a good competition.
Maybe we should have Jock's Mahjong night.
You guys are scared.
It's Soho Social.
If you're scared, just say it. It's fine. It's not a big deal.
I have hundreds of millions of other things that I could be doing.
They're playing mahjong.
If you don't want your brain to be challenged, that's fine.
My brain gets challenged plenty on chutes and ladders when I go down that gigantic slide and have to start over.
If you want to just, have a smooth brain, that's fine. No one's going to.
Specifically, I asked myself the question, how can a 5-year-old beat me 7 times in a row in trouble? That troubles me. I'm still trying to get to the bottom of it.
Well, fair enough.
That one is OCD enough to where he actually keeps score and knows how many times he's won and you've lost. And is accurate, by the way. It's pretty impressive. And he has won more times than all of us have. So we're still trying to get over that hump in our house.
Well, I understand that. But I'm trying to figure out why you're so anti, improving brain function.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
If you're against being smarter, it's fine. Just tell me you're a meathead. It's not a big deal. I don't need you to tell me, first and foremost.
Like that stupid cloud drink that came out a couple months ago, years ago.
It's called a clown drink?
That helps brain function.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's a cloud drink. Yeah, you know what? Drink that. It'll help brain function for sure. You know what helps my brain function? Coffee.
Helps.
Give me more coffee and we'll be just fine.
Coffee and mahjong.
Coffee and little Maj.
Greg Sipworth says discussing mahjong is similar to discussing the different types of kale. We did have Paul on earlier.
See, that's the perception. The perception is that it's some type of soft game. Oh, it's some, hippy dippy game. Not really.
Hippy dippy.
It's not hippy dippy. It's fun. It's a game. That's actually the question that we need to be asking. Do you draw a line in the sand and make a predetermined conclusion on things just based on the type of people that are playing it? Like, I think that if you look at mahjong, you're probably sitting there thinking, oh, that's highfalutin, tea-sipping crowd. It doesn't necessarily have to be. I understand that might be the perception, but it's not. It's a fun game. It's no different than playing poker. It's just it's a slightly different set of rules, but it is the exact same thing. It's honestly the same thing. It's all based on the hand that you draw. It's all based on the tiles that you draw after the fact.
I think this is my point, is if I were Cole Moneymaker and I spent a large portion of my day playing poker and you were trying to convince me to now take a portion of that part of my day and put it into mahjong, that might be a real thing. I don't play poker. So what am I now subsidizing for mahjong?
I'm not suggesting that you need to necessarily start picking up the poker and like start playing hands against yourself. All I'm saying is if you gave poker a chance and you liked it, not saying you need to major in it, but if you want to play every, twice a year, that's fine. If you gave Mahjong a chance, even though the perception of Mahjong is that it's a highfalutin tea-sipping game, you might enjoy it.
Rod tweets in, what am I listening to? I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'd rather listen to House Settlement.
We can do that.
This might be more entertaining. Mikey Walker with a great tweet, by the way. We were asking for other things that took the same route as pickleball, poker, Mahjong. Mikey Walker tweets in, pickleball, exclamation point. Disc golf blew up during COVID. They're still showing it on TV.
One.
That was
Great
way
one.
before COVID, by the way.
Not only disc golf, I watched this the other day. This is on ESPN The Ocho, which we now are like running all the time. It used to be just on August 8th, but ESPN is now running it regularly on ESPN News.
Yeah, we're out of ideas.
Have you seen fling golf or sling golf? I don't even know what it's. I think it's fling golf.
Never heard of it.
Dude, it looks amazing. I watched the fling golf.
Slingshot?
I watched the fling golf championship cooking breakfast the other day. Dude, they are literally taking what looks like it's like a golf club combined with a lacrosse stick, but there's no net, and it's like a plastic like 90-degree angle, and you fling the golf ball. It looks like highlight.
Are they taking the highlight thing? Is that what they're using?
It's smaller. It looks like a golf club.
Yeah. But
it's like on a lacrosse stick, and they have just a normal golf ball. And am I explaining this right, John?
No, it looks like highlight, but it's not a.
It does
not a
look
big piece
a
of
little like
macaroni.
highlight, but it's not as big. It's like smaller.
It looks like a driver. Yeah.
And you throw it,
Yep.
and dude,
Yeah,
they're playing like 350-yard holes. These are like not small holes.
No, they're playing like what look like courses.
Like it looks athletic.
Yeah.
Like these guys are like having to really twist and like maneuver their body to throw it.
This might be a sport.
Oh, it's a sport.
Yeah.
This is definitely a sport.
I see what you're talking about.
It's awesome. Now, I don't even know where you'd begin to go play it. Like if I'm going to go grab my fling golf set, like what do you get 14 clubs? Like how does this work?
No,
like
just hit the links. Just bring your stick in.
well, there are rules. Like you have to go sideways out of a bunker. You can only do it a certain way out of a bunker.
Oh.
These guys are actually like good putters too. Like a lot of them are players. Like they play real golf, but they decided that, athletically, fling golf made more sense for them, I guess. I don't know. But they're
do this
putting
when you
it.
can't hit a golf ball straight. I mean, let's just be real. Just like
Okay,
you
I
enter
was
the
getting
long
them-
drive competition when you don't have a short game.
Wow. You don't know
It was on
that.
Shark Tank, so
Fling golf?
yeah.
Dude, it's awesome. I'm not going to lie. It looked really fun.
Flinggolf.com says future of the fairway.
Hey, I'm here for it.
How do you get out of the bunker with this?
All right, here's
you
the
pick your
question.
ball up out of the sand and fling it?
out of the bunker, you have to go sideways like this. Like you
Scoop it up.
you have to
Oh,
scoop
you
it and
almost
like
have to do
throw
like
it forward.
Gilbert Brown's sack celebration, basically, to get it out of there.
I kind of want, if Cole can't play,
I can't do fling golf.
Regular
either.
golf.
This isn't going to work either.
I think fling golf might be the play.
That's still a lot of torque on the back. I can't do that.
Oh, don't be soft. All right, I guess it's
You just
Mahjong for you.
attempted to-
Damien, are you
attempted
in?
to sell our listeners on Mahjong?
I attempted
Yet I
to
am
sell our
soft.
listeners on a Mahjong show that we put on Lifetime
On Lifetime.
or Oprah Winfrey Network or HGTV. If I put Mahjong World Series on HGTV, we're making millions, boys.
It'll sell.
I'm telling you, we're making millions.
Like flame golf, it doesn't look that bad. Like,
It looks
actually-
awesome. What do you mean it
Stupid.
doesn't look that bad?
It's
It's the same. It's
It's
frizz-
different.
It's the thing you can't do the real thing, so let's come up with a different thing.
Oh, gosh.
It's just
Oh,
Why
so
do you have to
pickleball.
be so
Okay.
negative? Oh, I can't play tennis, so I'll play pickleball. Oh, I can't play squash,
well,
so I'll play racquetball.
Pickleball
It's not
is
always
technically
that.
designed for people who physically
For
weren't
what?
capable of playing tennis
Wow.
because of the lack of movement.
Wow.
That's where the advantage
You're
is.
calling pickleballers
elderly.
immobile?
That's who it was designed for. But no, I'm not, because if I'm not mistaken, the number one player in the world, female, is like 16 years old, maybe younger. So
Yeah, probably. I don't know, dude. I don't know why you guys are so down on everything right now. I'm trying to suggest really fun activities for you guys in the morning. trying to get you guys to get, stretch your intellectual brain.
That's it.
Trying to get you guys on board the
Go
upcoming
read a
trend.
book.
Right.
Hey, I'm telling you, if in 2 years, we will revisit this conversation on June 10th, 2027. Mark this. If in 2 years, Mahjong is less popular then than it is now, I will give each one of you $100.
In the United States, I'd like to add that too. Less
Yeah,
popular
obviously.
in the
I'm
United
not talking.
States.
I frankly
because
don't
you'll
care
move the
about what's going on
goalpost
in
and go,
Asia.
well, globally,
No, I don't care about we don't talk about soccer on the show.
Carlo, they have
we don't play the hits globally. We play the hits locally. I'm not in an effort
You've not
to
seen
try
the
to.
Egypt Open.
I don't want to grow the game in Dublin. Like, I don't care about that. Like, I want. I'm curious. I think we're on the beginning of what is going to become a very, very trendy time for Mahjong in the United States. We'll see.
All right.
And don't worry, you guys all had an invitation a moment ago to be an executive producer on the Mahjong TV, Mahjong.tv, you're all out. That was your golden ticket.
I was in,
and you're all
all
right, never mind. Say Bears in. Cole and Damian are definitely out. You two can go meet it up on the World Strongman Games, and me and John will do the Mahjong TV, and we'll see what does better.
I thought that's what the Stallions did.
It's true.
Speaking of golden tickets, you can probably get one at Bromberg's.
Well, you can get golden heirloom items. You can get golden aspects that will live in your family for multiple generations. That's why Bromberg's, they have the best selection, the finest items, things that you're just going to absolutely love. The second you walk in the door, you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. You might not believe me right now listening to me, but they've been in business for nearly 200 years. You just have to walk in and experience it. Walk in and experience the sales staff. Walk in and experience the selection. Go see the beautiful natural diamonds that they have in stock. Go see and feel the incredible jewelry, necklaces, bracelets, watches. The stuff that they'll have will last many, many, many years into the future and will appreciate over time. And the person that you give them to will appreciate it even more. It's the Bromberg's experience that I've gone back over and over and over again because it can't be replicated. They're the very best. And there's a reason why they've been around for nearly 200 years. You can go see Bromberg's yourself here. It's wedding season as well. A lot of people are registered at Bromberg's. Highly recommend getting the gift for the person that you care greatly about that's getting married at Bromberg's. Go and check them out at Bromberg's in Mountain Brook Village and at the Summit.
I have no transition for this other than I would
go.
like to block out the Mahjong discussion moving forward.
Nope. Gave you guys a golden ticket. Now you're dead.
But we will have a discussion on blocking next. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. We're going to talk offensive line play in college football next. The best thing I know to transition to after talking Mahjong. Nick tweets in, might play Mahjong between cornhole rounds, to which we also had a few other listeners tweet in, like John, cornhole blew up and is still hanging in there. I would say that is one that
definitely a good one.
Probably came out of nowhere and then all of a sudden was everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Still going for a lot of folks. We had the championships on TV. You had the people that had the different techniques all of a sudden and just could snake wins against everybody.
Well,
that would be one that I feel like is in the same camp here.
Everyone always looks at me so backwards when I'm playing cornhole and I'm throwing overhand. Everyone always looks at me
I might
weird.
too.
Yeah.
You throw it overhand?
No, I might look at you funny.
Think about Think about the amount of reps you have in your life throwing anything. I've always wondered why people go with the underhand. Think about it. I understand the trajectory and the parabola and all that stuff. Like, I'm sure from a physics standpoint, it probably makes more sense to throw it underhand. I'm trying to figure out, for those of us that grew up playing sports, how many times have you thrown something overhand in your life?
Pretty decent amount.
A lot. Like an uncountable number. And yet here we are trying to finesse this bag through a whole underhand. I've never understood it. So I throw it overhand. People look at me like I have three heads. And I'm like, I'm not good either way, underhand or overhand. But at least I have a fighting chance when I throw it overhand.
Understandable. No, I get it. I'm with you there. So let's
think different.
I might try overhand next
Let's
time.
ride. Let's go. See, all right. I was able to convince somebody of something today.
My 5-year-old goes overhand.
Heck yeah. See, he rips. He knows.
He does.
Me and your 5-year-old, we're on it.
Right on it.
About it.
You can be on it as well at your CBD store. If you have arthritis, anxiety, you or your pet, your CBD store has answers. What about better sleep? They can help you with that. More energy, more focus throughout the course of the day. They have products that can help at the largest brick and mortar CBD retailer on planet Earth. First company to have USDA certified organic oil supplements. They've got the stamp seal on those products. Skincare, gut health, and more. Let your CBD store make your daily routine better with multiple products and great customer service. 3 locations, Highway 280 by Bailey Brother, 150 by the Cajun Cleaver, Trustful just off 459. Your CBD store where good health hits home. I had an interesting talk back and forth with the Memphis Touchdown Club last night, and they referenced that you were there 2 weeks ago, and a little bit of offensive line discussion came up, and then our mutual friend Tyler Siskey was there last week, and he was asked the question while he was up giving his presentation of, do you think offensive line play is good in college football? And his general answer was no. Basically, that across the board, it's just not good.
Okay.
My response to that was, I do believe that a little bit of his vision is clouded based on where he was at certain points in times in his career and how good the offensive line play was at those spots, mainly at Alabama for a certain period of time. Do I think it's collectively down? Absolutely, I do. Do I think it's the most important position on the field in order for you to go find a way to win a game? No, not right now. I do not. But I also think that it's interesting to look at sort of why it has digressed a little bit and why maybe it's not where it is. We know the portal's played a large portion of that. And I don't think a lot of people understand that you go in and you're not just learning a new scheme. You're not just learning new verbiage, but guys teach the footwork in different ways. They call the steps different things. They call the sets different things. They want you to carry your hands in a different place. They want your hat placement to be in different places when you go try to block somebody on different plays. So you have to learn all of that, then the verbiage, and you got to learn the guys next to you because you have to work together in order for your group to be really good.
Let's start there.
Okay.
How hard is it to develop continuity and rapport with the guy next to you?
I think it's tough because
how many years does it take? Or does it take years?
I don't think it takes years. I think it takes reps. So if you're the left tackle and I'm the left guard and we run reps with the 2s all our redshirt freshman year, and then we come back and we're with the 1s that spring, and then we're with the 1s again that fall, and we're getting 85, 90% of those reps together, I think it can happen more quickly than it can for guys that may have been in the same school for 3 years, but they haven't taken all of those reps next to one another. And then obviously that goes for both guards in the center, right guard, the right tackle. To me, the best way to explain it in a very elementary sense is you have to get to the point that everything that needs to be done can be done non-verbally.
Yeah.
It has to be done physically and non-verbally. So the more you have to, listen, communication is going to have to take place.
Sure.
But the more communication that has to take place, the less likely you are going to be successful. Because if I have to sit there and tell you everything that I see so you know and see it clearly and you understand it and you get it and you need every call to be made, we're going to struggle because now we're thinking a little bit too much. And then we're going to get in times when we can't communicate and you're waiting for a call that you're not going to get. That's
Sure.
going to hold us back. And then the physical portion of that is understanding who's going to come off on a linebacker a little bit early on a combo block, who needs more help on an inside pass rush move, lined up on their outside shoulder, maybe who's a little more susceptible to a bull rush and they have a 340-pound D tackle on them. Like those are things that take time to figure out who needs help with what, who needs you to be somewhere that maybe the play doesn't actually call for you to be there all the time, but you know to go there on that play because that guy needs that.
Yeah.
That just takes, practice after practice after game after game. Even watching film together can count for that sometimes. Like, hey, man, if you see that dude lined up there, please be on my inside shoulder if he gives me that spin move because I'm going to struggle with it. It's not going to be easy to stop. All of those are a part of it. We'll continue discussing it next on Mac and Cube in the morning. What is the importance of offensive line play? How important is it? We'll discuss that on the other side. Tuesday, January 10th, 8:54 a.m. right here on Jocks 94.5. Listen on the Jocks app, jocksfm.com, or tell your home smart speaker to enable the Jocks skill.
Bill Smith Buick GMC is the GMC Dealer of the Year, the national champs of GMC dealers. And it's the deals that you just won't find anywhere else. It's absolutely off the charts just how good these deals are. And you'll understand exactly what I mean the second you take the short drive up to Coleman and you see for yourself. It's ridiculous. Some of these deals, like a GMC Sierra 1500. It's a beautiful, beautiful vehicle. SLT, $66,835 is the list price. They'll take $14,500 off that list price, get you out the door for $52,335. It's deals like that that keep people coming back. That's why 75% of their business is repeat customers. That's because you have a better experience when you shop with Bill Smith. So take the short drive up to Coleman. You'd be glad you did. You could also shop online, have it delivered right to your driveway at BillSmithBuickGMC.com.
All right, so on the other side, we'll continue this conversation. There was a reason Greg wanted to go down this path of discussing offensive line play, its importance in college football, where it is right now, how to get better at it, what teams maybe we have a little bit more confidence in because of that group might not needing to be to the level that some other groups may have to have theirs be to be successful. There's a lot of different ways to look at it. We're going to continue discussing it. 800-239-9569. You want to get in, discuss it with us. Also tweet in at Mac and Cube. You can be a part of the show there. You can text into the show, 205-834-9450. Is there anything from a Mahjong perspective you would like to leave on the table before we exit that discussion?
Give it a try. I don't think you'll be disappointed. I think you just need to give it a try. That's it. Haters.
What if they don't have a set or a pack?
Play online. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know if there's a pack.
Where do you get the board? Is there a board?
No. You buy tiles.
And you just play on the table?
Yes.
Like dominoes?
Correct.
Okay.
Rock and roll, baby. You'll love it.
Putting that to rest.
Why are you done with it?
Just don't need it.
Fair enough. I think if you try it, you'd like it.
We go from Mahjong to the trenches and the importance of it this upcoming college football season. Who we like, don't like, where it might show up the most. That's all next right here on Jocks 94.5. Hour number 3 underway, Tuesday, June 10th. Watch live on YouTube. Search Jocks945. Can always check in on the show that way. You can go back and watch it on YouTube as well. Every show archived there. Search JOX945 on YouTube each and every morning. 800-239-9569. You want to get in as we move forward into a college football conversation surrounding offensive line play, something that we love talking about on the show. We're always familiar with here on the show. Don't have many problems discussing on the show. Text in 205-834-9450. Also, you can tweet in at Mac and Cube if you have questions, concerns, thoughts on where we head with this conversation. There was a reason you wanted to get into this today, G-Mac, and I thought it was fitting that yesterday the Memphis Touchdown Club sort of told me what Tyler Siskey said, and that was basically that none of the offensive lines are good. I disagreed a little bit, and that maybe there aren't as many that are great or as good as there were a short time ago. It has gone south just a little bit, but doesn't mean that there are none that play well. I think there are a lot that play well and a lot that get better and grow throughout the course of the season. There are some that get worse. I referenced Tennessee yesterday. That was one that 5-6 games into the season looked great. Last 3-4 games of the year didn't look like a good group at all. It can go both ways and go a lot of ways. We've seen the Alabama group a couple of years ago all of a sudden turn on the SEC championship game, look totally different than they did a couple of weeks prior. Think about how they looked in the South Florida game that year, and then totally different in the first postseason game that season. So it can be very different from 1 week, 2 weeks, 4 weeks later, specifically first week to the last week of the season. It can always be different. You'll have to wait, though, for this conversation, but one thing you never have to wait for, Greg, is your dental care.
That's because Family Care Dental has you taken care of. The urgent care officer you can be seen the same day in several locations to make it easy on you in Hoover, Fultondale, Homewood, Alabaster, and now open in Trustful. They can get you in the same day. The routine cleanings now include free teeth whitening, so take advantage of that incredible service by giving Family Care Dental a call today. 874-9605. That's Family Care Dental, 874-9605.
All right, so what sort of led you down this path that wanted you to bring this up and have this conversation on the show today?
I was watching a little Ohio State and was watching and it kind of sat there and thought, at least in the midseason, when you go back, if you go into the regular season, you'd sit there and think, you know what, the one thing about Ohio State, they got the weapons, they have the defense, really at all three levels, they're pretty dang good. But, man, the one thing that could hold this team back is the offensive line. They're just not great kind of across the board. And then we fast forward to the end of the season, they win the national championship. Granted, that offensive line got a little exposed against Michigan and as a result struggled, but they go and win the national championship. So I started to think, I never thought you could win the national championship with substandard offensive line play. Now, I don't think they had to be super elite. I don't think they had to be crazy talented with first-round picks across the board, but I do think you now can overcome sometimes inadequate offensive line play en route to a championship. And it was really all centered around watching them yesterday. And I'm sitting there like, golly, I can't believe this team went on to win it. Because the team we saw in the playoff run, very different than the team we saw, at least in the offensive line, throughout the regular season. So I guess I'll start by asking the question, can you win a national championship with substandard offensive line play?
I don't know about substandard. And the other part of that, Greg, and I will say, is that I agree with you, but that group did, similar to their defensive line, found a way to turn it on in the postseason.
Yeah.
And improved after making a couple of moves. I've had conversations with people inside that program that have said that Chip sort of changed his mindset a little bit later in the year also and allowed them to start doing some things that could allow the offensive line to thrive just a little bit more and be able to impose their will to a certain extent. And I don't want to say make it more enjoyable, but make it a little bit simpler for you to just be big and bad. And they didn't do a lot of that stuff early. They went to it a little bit later in the season. I think it was easier for them to kind of grow together and be a little bit better as a unit. They were not great all year, but I do think they played well late in the postseason. Now, not against Michigan, but you and I have talked about that. That was a game where they went and tried to play Michigan's game. And they're not better than that than they are right now. I mean, Michigan is a more fierce football team in the trenches right now than Ohio State is. That might change next year after what they did late in the year and in the postseason. But let's go back to our last few national champions. 2022, 2023 Michigan. Offensive line's pretty good, right?
Very.
2022, 2021 Georgia. Pretty good offensive lines.
Very good.
2020 Bama.
Yes.
2019 LSU.
Fine. I know they won the Joe Moore Award. You can tell me.
They were a good group.
They were fine.
For what they did. Now, 2018 Clemson will be the interesting case study probably in all of this, and 2016 Clemson, really. 2017 Bama's group, pretty good. 2015 Bama group, pretty good. 2013 Ohio State offensive line. I remember that group. He had early round draft pick at tackle. Good. Had a really good center that I don't think played in the NFL, but was a really good college football player.
Florida State 2013.
Yeah, that's the group I was referencing. What did I say?
You said Ohio State.
Yeah, Ohio State 14. I'd have to go look at again.
I don't remember. Ohio State was good.
And then you had Bama 12, 11, Auburn in 10. That was a bunch of veterans up front. It was actually a pretty good group. I'm not going to say dominant, but guys who knew what was asked of them and did some things that needed to be done the right way. An older veteran-laced group that got the job done. So if we go back to the teams that are actually winning it, they had good or really good or great offensive line play. So I think we've gotten to a little bit of a point where how much of it can you circumvent? Because while I might not sit here and say you have to be 95 Nebraska or 2023 Michigan to win a national championship, I do think that as soon as it becomes substandard, subpar, it shows up maybe faster than deficiencies at any other position. Because it can wreck your game plan in a hurry.
Well, totally.
All of a sudden, you can't pass. All of a sudden, all your runs are bouncing outside or they're cutting back way too early. Look at Ole Miss last year. Like they finally got rugged on the defensive line. Like they were pretty dirty on the D line. I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that in a positive way. Like they were pretty fierce up front.
They were excellent.
But the offensive line wasn't. They had the weapons at receiver. They had the quarterback. They had decent running backs, even though they rotated them. Some disappeared at times, but good tight end play. Couldn't block. Plain and simple. Didn't give the quarterback time to operate on a regular basis. Couldn't run the ball in must-have situations. And they ended up getting them beat a couple times. So I think that while you might not have to be elite in order to actually win a championship, I think as soon as you get to about C-, you better watch out because it's going to show up in a hurry and it's going to cost you games. That would be an interesting study for you and I to do. It may take a little more time. Go back to the teams the last few years and how different they would have been if their offensive line would have been, say, B+. Like South Carolina last year. Like what if they would have had a B+ offensive line? Like an outside of the window of being a finalist for the Joe Moore Award top offensive line. But, like a top 20 offensive line in college football. They might have been a totally different team.
Might have been.
So I think that there are going to be more teams that it'll show up faster if they're not good at that position or struggling at that position than there will be, okay, you have to be elite in order to be a team that contends for a spot in the playoff.
Yeah. Well, I think all that is perfectly reasonable. But my biggest problem is when I watch offensive line, I used to legitimately think unless you had a great group, you're not winning at all. You're not. Now, I do think there are certain perimeters that can lead to adjustments. Obviously, the Clemson team that you referenced in 16 and 18, that's a good example. Like their offense was played almost exclusively on the perimeter. They had great weapons at wide receiver. They had an elite defense. And they won those games in, 2018, not necessarily dramatic fashion. They were just preyed on mistakes made by Alabama that night in Santa Clara. And then in 2016, they got off the field on third down defensively. I think Bama in that game was 1 for 12 on third down. And then they did an amazing job of making sure that they had the ball last.
Yeah.
I mean, little circumstantial, not a bad thing. They won the game. They found a way to finish the ball in their hands with the best player on the field. So I think when you look at everything, I've kind of changed because offenses have gotten so creative and the RPO has gotten so prevalent. Yep. We've done such a great job of identifying great weapons at wide receiver, and I've now changed my tune. Are you better off having elite wide receiver play or elite offensive line play? The answer is elite wide receiver play because the game can now be played on the perimeter pretty easily if you allow it to be played on the perimeter.
Yeah, I think there are more ways to stress someone if you have, because you're talking elite now, not good. You're talking elite. There are more ways to stress someone with elite wide receivers. And I think plural is probably the sticking point there. Because if you had one, is that enough? We've seen some teams have one dominant wide receiver and not be able to win some big games. but you have a dominant offensive line. Is that enough to just go out and win football games now? It's a good question. I don't really know the answer. I think it's dependent on so many other things, but let me try this practice with you. Talking offensive line play, and is it good? 800-239-9569. You want to get in? Text into the show, 205-834-9450. Last year, from what you recall, you tell me, where do you want to draw the line in the sand here? Above average?
Yeah, I think above average.
All right. Oregon offensive line, above average or below average?
Above average.
Georgia.
Above average.
Arizona State.
Are we talking last year or are we talking overall?
Last year.
Georgia was average.
Okay. Arizona State.
Pretty solid.
I think they're definitely above average.
Yeah.
Now, they weren't as technically sound as some other groups, but you're talking about glass eaters, like they'd get up there and fight you. And good for what they needed to do. Clemson.
Average.
Texas.
Above average.
Penn State.
Average.
Notre Dame.
Would you agree on it? Are there any disagreements on any of these?
Penn State is a coin flip for me. I'd have to really go back and dial in because there were times that I thought they were fine. There were times I didn't like them. I think at times they ran into situations where they attempted to be a little bit too cute and didn't give that group a chance to really settle in. But I thought they were okay. Not great. I would have them at slightly above average.
Okay.
I don't think you run the ball the way they did without having a group that's slightly above average, regardless of weapons and formations and what else you can do. Notre Dame, it's an easy one. It's above average.
Yes.
Ohio State, we just referenced them.
Average.
Tennessee, for the majority of the season now.
Above average.
Indiana.
I would say above average.
They were above average most of the season. SMU.
Average.
Boise.
Below average.
So I think we were at about 65-70% above average there. Those are your playoff teams from a year ago. Most of them, I think, the majority above average and pretty good. And then maybe a few like a Notre Dame, a Texas, an Oregon, a lot of the times a little bit further past that. But an interesting look at how some, and what's really weird about it is the one that a lot of people they didn't pay attention to that probably would just assume was great was Boise. I didn't think their group was great last year.
Who did?
Well, I just think a lot of people saw what Ashton Genty was doing, like, man, offensive line must be great.
Oh,
and it wasn't. It wasn't great. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great. So, I guess you look there too, and then you say, all right, wide receiver prowess. Oregon, pretty good. Georgia, pretty good. Arizona State, one really good. Clemson, pretty good. Texas, really good. Penn State, meh. Notre Dame, meh. Ohio State, incredible. Tennessee, really good. Indiana, good. SMU, good. Boise, meh. So to your thought process there, more teams that were in the playoff last year probably better at wide receiver than more teams better along the offensive line.
I would think that receiver, and you would think receiver would be more dime a dozen, but true, genuine difference makers. I mean, I think when you look at true, genuine difference makers, there weren't that many teams last year that had true, genuine difference makers at wide receiver. Ohio State did, of course. I think Oregon did. Alabama didn't make the playoff, but did. Texas did. That was pretty much, I guess, if you want to count the tight end at Penn State, if you want to count him, Tyler Warren, you could probably make that. You could probably make that argument on his behalf. But I don't know. I mean,
Arizona did.
Arizona did. But
we're not talking about playoffs. I'm just saying Colorado did. Miami did. If we're just looking at teams that had a guy that made that much of a difference, I'm talking a guy.
Correct.
But still, we might be drawing the line there. I don't know if there's a ton more of them.
Not a ton. I mean, like true scare the heck out of your defensive coordinator difference makers at wide receiver and or a tight end that can play wide receiver. Like, I think you have to factor both in, like weaponry, if you will. Like you can't leave Tyler Warren if he plays X receiver and he splits out wide in the single side. You cannot cover him with one guy. You have to double him. So he's not a traditional wide receiver, but a weapon that concerns you.
So maybe this is the question: would you rather be really good at a couple spots or elite at one spot? And how many positions would that apply to?
Really good is different than solid. You replace really good with solid.
Here's a great example for you. When we're talking wide receivers, okay, we mentioned a couple of teams. Like, would you have rather been last year at wide receiver, Arizona or Iowa State?
At receiver, Iowa State.
So you'd rather be really good at a couple spots than elite at one spot.
They had 2 really good receivers.
Almost 3, but yeah, they were really good at multiple spots. Arizona was incredible at one spot.
Correct.
You could probably say the same thing for Arizona State, Iowa State.
Well, Arizona was elite at one position until Arizona State.
But I'm saying just wide receivers.
Arizona State was elite at one position.
One wide receiver spot. Yeah, so you probably still want to be Iowa State there instead.
Probably, yeah. Well, Jordan Tyson went out and they didn't really skip a beat, but yeah, they had one guy at Arizona State. Texas had 3 that were really, really solid. I mean, you could make a case that Matthew Golden was elite, but I don't know if we knew that throughout the season last year.
And I think if Wingo would have gotten more opportunities, he could have shown that he has the chance to be elite. I think he will be this year. I'm gonna go lean out on that. Also, so to go back to the offensive line portion of that, when you're just referencing players, I think you can almost have that discussion with some of these teams. Like, would you have taken Indiana's players or Georgia's players on the offensive line? It's a non-discussion.
I would have taken Georgia's players,
right? But I would have taken Indiana's offensive line.
But I think Indiana did the dirty work.
Yeah, they knew how to operate that system.
Correct.
They ran the zone stuff extremely well. They knew how to be patient, not go downfield in the RPO game. Protection worked well together. They probably helped that they had a quarterback that knew exactly what to get them in a lot of times. Would you have taken the Notre Dame players is not a good one because their guys are really good too individually. So yeah, I was going to say Notre Dame or Texas because I think Texas's kids were more talented and just better top to bottom. But I would have rather had Notre Dame's offensive line with the way they played. You could probably say that like Tennessee and Indiana. I think Tennessee's guys are more talented, bigger, badder, but the Indiana kids just knew how to operate it in a better fashion. Like Arizona State would be a good example of that. If we put Arizona State versus, I don't want to say Notre Dame because Notre Dame's group is pretty nasty. Arizona State versus Texas, those 2 offensive lines. Like you're taking Texas as players, correct?
Correct.
But later in the year, when things kind of got a little out of whack for Texas, I might take Arizona State's group just because I knew one thing they were going to do is they were going to come after you and try to fight you on every play.
They had a good group, though. Like, that was a really,
that Arizona
really
State group reminded me of the Jay Kaner Fresno State offensive lines we watched. Literally just a bunch of future bar bouncers. Like, not afraid to try to throw you out of the club, not afraid to be overly physical with you, like knew what they needed to do to set the tone. And it helped that they had a guy in the backfield that helped set the tone also. But it's an interesting discussion of what spots would you rather have one guy be elite at, or would you rather have 2-3 guys to be B+ across the board? We could say same thing about defensive line, and I think that's where it might change. That's where I might want the one guy that I knew could just raise hell on every play.
Yeah, that can be a game wrecker for sure. But I don't know. I mean, I think it'd be great.
We're going to find out with South Carolina this year.
I ask another question about offensive line. How much would you rather have 5 really talented guys, or would you rather have 5 guys with average talent but maximum grit?
With the grit, do I get overly technically sound?
Solid.
I'll take the grit.
Killers. Attitude.
Fighters. Class eaters.
Like that I think is one other thing of
Look at
because
the Texas
everyone
tackles
goes
last
after
year,
these
Greg.
5-star guys. Everyone wants these tall, beautiful, athletically gifted specimen along their offensive line. And I can't disagree with that. I might rather have the stone cold killers, the guys that want to bale hay on Christmas Day. That, I want the guys that are going to finish every single play. They might not have a ton of talent, but they're going to finish. There might be a little dirty, but I kind of like that on my team. Like, I think I'd rather have a bunch of guys that understand their limitations and play with an edge than the guys that are supremely gifted that might not give you that all the time.
Well, but also I think too, and because I think that I had to operate in this manner often, is when you know that physically you can't go out and just do whatever you want. You have to lean on fundamentals more. You have to lean on technique more, and you have to lean on grit more. Those are the things that help you win your individual battles, and then can help you win your battles as a unit. So it's kind of like that 2010 Auburn offensive line. I mean, I think it was like Brandon Mosley. Who was it? The tackle? He was in the UFL last year. I don't know why some of those guys, I can't think of their name right now. But none of those guys. I mean, Mosley was the only one that played in the NFL, and he played because somebody else got hurt. So but that group got after you, and they were older guys that had been around it and knew how to operate. Like Mike Berry, Ryan Pugh was a great college football player, but he wasn't going to play in the NFL. I mean, you want to talk about arm length, like Combine would have eaten him up. Lee Zimbo was a little stiff, but he had what you're talking about. He had that nasty. He would get after you. Byron Isom, not, the most talented guy out there. Darrell Bostrom, same way. But Darrell Bostrom was like one of those Arizona State guys this last year, like just more power than he knew what to do with. But at least we get after you. So that's kind of what that group was. I think about that group. And you'd love to have both. That'd be ideal, to have all the talent and the guys that just wanted to ruin your life on every play. But it doesn't always work that way. Bob in Pike Road wants to ask us about offensive line play. Welcome in, Bob.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
No problem.
Thank you.
Hey, I agree with you, Cole, and, maybe Mac agreed too, but I'd rather have 5 guys with a lot of grit who kind of work as a unit and are technically sound. I think that works every time. But my take is this, and, some people agree with it and some people don't, but I think the same thing in football that won 100 years ago wins today, and that's you have to win the line of scrimmage. You got to be able to run the football, and you got to be able to stop the run. And I think that's proven out in the NFL. I think that's proven out in high school football, any kind of football. Maybe Little League, they're too little to really even play good up front. But once you get to high school on up, the team with the best front on offense and defense wins 95% of the time, as long as they take care of the football and don't commit stupid penalties. What do y'all think?
I think the large portion of that's accurate, but this is actually another conversation that came up last night. I still do believe balance is critical, because we've seen some of the most dominant rushing attacks. I mean, Army led the nation in rush yards last year, over 300 yards a game. How often, Greg, have we talked about Ole Miss? And when I say balance, I don't just mean run the ball, pass the ball. I mean ways to win as a football team. Can your defense go out there and consistently get stops against a great offense to help you win? Are your special teams going to let you down? Can you run the ball and throw the ball? If you have one dominant receiver and somebody takes him away, can you find other ways to go win? That's kind of where I go with that. But I think balance is always going to be critical, but I still think it's a line of scrimmage game. You go back to Georgia, Texas, regular season. What happened? They got eaten alive up front. They were as talented, if not more talented, but they got eaten up at the line of scrimmage. Michigan, their national championship runs. Did they have elite wide receiver play? Elite quarterback play? Really good quarterback play.
I think really good quarterback
JJ might
play.
end up being awesome in the NFL. I think
he was probably better than people probably realized. He always seemed to make a throw. He always fitted in a tight window. There was always a big third down that he would convert either with his arm or with his legs, and did so in the national championship game. Like, I think that there's a little bit of...
He and Will Howard, very, very similar, I feel like, as far as their college careers and what they did for their teams. Like, Ohio State didn't lean on Will Howard week in, week out, but when they needed a throw, he made some, and he had the ability to do it. But you know what those Michigan teams didn't get done to him? Pushed around at the line of scrimmage.
Ever.
Not a single time.
Never.
So it's
ever got pushed around. I mean, how often was he really under pressure?
Oh, not much.
Rare. Because they ran it so well,
elongated play action almost every time either with like 7 guys protecting. So it's a fun conversation. It really is about what do you think you have to have? What do you think you need to have to go out and win in today's football? We'll continue that conversation. But first, Greg, tell our listeners about Shannara Flooring.
Well, Shannara Flooring, Fu and his company, they have built their program on a foundation of trust and integrity. You'll understand what I'm talking about the second you call them. And right now is a great time to call them at Shannara Flooring because of some of the deals that they have available for you. They have 40,000 square feet of CoreTech flooring in stock right now. You can get $5 off that CoreTech flooring per box when you order it from Shannara Flooring. $5 off per box. That savings can really add up. That's that 100% waterproof, pet-proof CoreTech is really, really good when thinking about the functionality of your home or business. But any flooring outside of the CoreTech, you can get 15% off right now through July 2nd. The savings start at $150 and only go up from there. You can get 12 months financing with approved credit, and you can see it all online at Shannara Flooring, and you can check out their website at fooandyou.com.
We see a couple of your calls coming in. Get to those. Get to your tweets as well. Next, Mac and Cube in the morning. This photograph that Pete Moss sent in of you playing mahjong in your Alabama uniform is spectacular.
It is good. It is good material. Excellent material.
How do we save this as the wallpaper?
I don't know.
Save image as. Where do you go to make it the wallpaper? Why is that not working? This PC? We'll figure it out later. I will.
You're down on it.
I thought you just clicked the picture and it said set as wallpaper.
I feel like you can.
I thought that was simple. It's not an option here. Right click. You look really mad in that photograph also. Is that an AI photograph?
It must be. Because it's not me.
You know that was him on spring break.
That was definitely a spring break. I like to put my full uniform on with shoulder pads and helmet regularly.
Do you ever?
Are you joking?
No. You play Mahjong. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you put your uniform on every now and then.
No, I don't put my uniform on very regularly. No. Just get the shoulder pads out. Hey, boys, look how Dad used to look. Here's the problem. Is like I'd put the uniform on expecting myself to look okay, like look comparable to how I looked 10, 12, 15 years ago, and I'd be very disappointed by what I see in the mirror. So, no, I don't anticipate doing that.
Yeah, I don't want to see that. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about me. I don't want to see myself in uniform right now.
You're out.
Yeah, just like mini quads. Just no thanks. We'll pass on that. Not a good look. Would not be a good look. You can look better though with our friends at Game Day Men's Health. If you're trying to drop some weight, if that's a little bit of an issue for you, go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com right now. Set up that free consultation. You get a free PSA test, free testosterone test. They're going to let you know where your baseline health is, and then they'll present the different weight loss options that they have. Peptides could be a part of that. Low testosterone could be a part of that. A lot of different ways that they can help you feel better. If you're lacking energy, not getting sleep, if you feel on edge, Game Day Men's Health wants to help you. Locker room environment, no stress environment, great people, holistic approach to health and wellness. Minimal upfront costs from the programs that they offer. That's big because not a lot of folks in town are going to be doing that. Go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com today. Why not sign up for that free consultation? Take advantage. Go feel better. Get back in the game with Game Day Men's Health. All right, talking offensive line play, Jalen is on the Higginbotham hotline, wants to chime in on O-line play. Welcome into the show, Jalen.
Hey, how's it going?
Great. How are you?
Doing good. Yeah, I just, I heard y'all talking earlier about, Auburn offensive lines, and I was screaming, leave them, but, but I was just wondering, it brought up another question in my mind, because you guys were talking about this a couple of days ago, which, season would be more disappointing. The 2010 Auburn run was amazing, but I think I would be more disappointed in that 2013 run and not feel anything about it because of how it went down. I just want to get your thoughts on that. I know it's not a part of the offensive line, but I just want to know. I just want to know how you feel about that.
Are you referencing as far as how and why that offensive line made a difference in 2013?
Yes, because of course, that championship, should have been ours. But
I'll just say this.
Line,
if
woulda, coulda, shoulda.
There are no should-haves in football. A lot of people, people are going to point to Trey Mason, who was incredible, Nick Marshall, who was incredible, Sammy Coates had a nice year, a couple guys on defense played well. If I'm not mistaken, at least for a large portion of the second half of the season, the most dominant offensive line in college, offensive line men individually in college football that year was Greg Robinson.
Right.
And you can say it didn't translate to the NFL, and that's fine. And obviously he had some issues once he got to the NFL. But with what he was asked to do that year, he was more dominant doing it in the second half of the season than anybody else. And that's why I think he was drafted where he was, even though there wasn't a direct correlation to what he was going to be asked to be doing in the NFL to what he did at Auburn. But
wasn't the second pick? Wasn't he second pick?
He was a massive part of why they did what they did.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was just wondering, man. I'm headed to work, so just thought first time caller, of course.
No, appreciate you calling in. And he was the second pick. Cleveland took him second. Yeah.
Yep, second pick. Yep, and I was saying, I'm your first biggest hater because I'm an Auburn fan, and you were the greatest Alabama quarterback I've ever seen. So, yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. I respectfully disagree, but that's very kind.
Yes, sir. Well, hey, I don't want to bother.
All
Thanks
good, man.
for the call,
Thanks for
Jay.
calling.
Y'all have a
Appreciate
great
it.
day.
Yes, sir.
All right, so just sticking with kind of where you need to be, where you want to be, and different positions of do you want a couple of B+ guys or do you need one A++ guy? Defensively, how would that operate for you? Because we mentioned defensive line might be one spot where we look at and say, no, give me the elite dude. Like give me the guy that can just wreak havoc inside or off the edge time and time again, and there's just literally nothing you can do about it.
I think I'd probably still take, if I can get the guy inside, fine. If I have the edge guy, all right, fine. But if I told you right now one elite edge guy and the rest are fine, what are you going with?
Or what? All B+ across the board?
B+ across the board, or one elite edge guy and B- across the board?
It's still tough for me to say the one elite edge guy.
I can't go
I know
edge.
the difference that he would make, but I can avoid that much easier than I can Derek Brown, Quinnen Williams, Booger McFarland, and Ndamukong Suh. I can't get away from those guys.
Yeah,
They're
the
right
interior.
there.
If you go the interior, then look out. But I think I would take across the board. If I can't have an interior guy, I think I'd go across the board.
I'm trying to come up with an example of a group that had like super solid, like the inside of the South Carolina D-line is a perfect example last year, but you had two great edge guys, so we can't use that as our barometer here. But a defensive line in recent memory that just had good across the board. Not dominant at any spot, not first round at any spot, but just really good across the board. And that's how they went out and they won. Because I know there are some out there, my brain's just not allowing me to think of who they are right now. But I still think if you could give me D tackles that could hold the point and could push the pocket a little bit, maybe get a pass rush win every now and then, and edge guys that were satisfactory, got home every now and then, played the run well, could set the edge, but just didn't take over games. I think I'd still go with that across the board. But like you said, you give me the dominant inside guy, I don't really care what everybody else is doing. We'll figure it out.
Right.
Linebacker?
What about linebacker? If I have,
You want 2-3 really good guys? Or
yes,
do you want
2-3
one
really good?
Raekwon Smith?
2-3 really good.
Roquan, sorry.
Well, Roquan's another level. So I can understand why you would go that direction. Like, he was that good. He was that much of a difference maker. He was incredible. Made the only linebacker I've ever voted for on my Heisman Trophy ballot.
That might be an interesting conversation too, is kind of where has the elite dominance gone at that position? There doesn't feel like there's near as much of it as
there's a lot of solid.
But there's not a lot of Rolando McClain.
Like best player on the field, no
Luke
matter what.
Kuechly, Takeo Spikes. Like, I mean, I think of even the guys like Dan Morgan at Miami. Like I remember seeing highlights. I didn't watch a lot of his games, but I remember seeing the highlights of Urlacher at New Mexico, and it's like playing some safety and then playing some linebacker, and you're like, goodness gracious, this dude's all over the place. Like,
He's everywhere, literally everywhere.
I remember calling. It was a Jefferson Pilot game, and Andy Burcham and I were on the call for the CSS replay, Auburn Ole Miss. And it got to the point in the game, I think I even made a comment on air. I was like, Andy, you don't have to say Patrick Willis made the tackle again.
We know.
He's made every tackle. And he might not get credit for everyone.
Yeah.
But by my count, he's literally been in on every tackle. So
Correct.
You don't have to say his name again. We know. Patrick
like
Willis
Bobby
on the
Boucher.
stop. Like, I mean, as far as just utter ridiculousness of making play after play after play, Patrick Willis would probably be the one that I've seen in person. I mean, even like above average solid guys like Dwayne Rudd at Alabama was kind of that guy. Where has that gone? Like, do you have a dominant off the ball linebacker returning in college football this year that you just can't wait to watch? I can think of one.
Who?
BJ Hill at Texas. And I'm not even putting him in the category with the guys we just mentioned, but I think he's well above average.
Anthony Hill,
excuse me. Well above average.
Wait, Weeks?
Very fun to watch, but I'm not
Pretty good.
I'm not putting his overall linebacking ability with those guys. And that has nothing to do with size, speed. That has to do with knowing where the ball is going to be. Like, I can remember rewinding plays 6, 7, 8 times for Reuben Foster arriving at a pulling guard before the guy was like out of his stance, waiting on a play to be there, like diagnosing it before it even started.
Oh, that happened.
On a very regular basis.
No doubt.
And I just don't feel like we see a ton of that anymore. And I don't know what the reason for that is. I don't know why that has happened, where that's gone. But as you point out with Weeks, it's almost like the kamikaze pilot is making a comeback.
Player, though. He's
an awesome player.
He's elite.
Such a fun player.
Given what he's at. All right, so if you're playing like traditional, he's going to have a million tackles. No, but as far as making anyone else better, like Weeks does that. So I consider him elite.
He's a pretty big help when he's on your side.
No question.
I don't think there's
any
doubt
some of the
about
elite guys that we've seen in recent years, the Devin Bushes, the guys that were just in on every play. Keek Lee, of course, is maybe one of the best examples. Granted, that's been some time since we've seen a guy that's just that crazy productive. Anthony Hill this year, I think, has a chance to be that guy. I think Deontay Lawson, if he's a little more comfortable this year, he could be an elite guy. Like he could definitely be that guy. I look at Georgia's group. I think they have 2 or 3 that could be that guy. But we'll see. I mean, it's going to be really interesting, I think, to kind of see where things are. But linebacker is one of the more intriguing positions in the sport this year.
I don't think there's any doubt. We'll continue that conversation. Before we go to break, tell our listeners about Polar Bear Services.
Well, I've been going to Polar Bear Services for pretty much everything around my house for quite some time. I've always had a great experience. I've gone with Weston and the guys. They just do such a great job. Make sure your home is taken care of. Make sure your HVAC system is running smoothly, knowing that it's going to be hot here coming up very, very soon. It's already been hot. System's already been put to the test. We've already had one challenge that they've helped eliminate with an evap coil. They just do an incredible job. They can also help you with electrical. They can install one of those whole home generators right now that are such a great luxury, knowing some of the storms that have been rolling through our community the last month and a half, knowing that you lose power every once in a while. Those whole home generators, they can get you taken care of without the stress and gives you some peace of mind around your home. And they also have recently added plumbing. They've helped me with that as well. We had a shower leaking. They took care of it. Wes and the guys do everything for you, and you'll be glad that you went with the group that's so trustworthy, so transparent with their pricing, and with the service that they also provide. So if you're thinking of, remember, if you have a problem with your plumbing, electrical, heat, or air, just pick up the phone and call the Bear. It's 497-BEAR. That's 497-BEAR.
Stutzman close to that level last few years?
Yeah, very, very solid. Eraser, just an eraser that if a guy's out of line, he can make you right. If everyone else messes up, he can make you right.
He doesn't get a lot of credit, but Jack Campbell at Iowa was one of those guys.
Oh, yeah. I mean, not a lot of credit. He's only a first-round pick.
Always showing up in the right place.
150 tackles.
Yeah, he was one of those guys.
He was always around the ball.
Zacoby McClain was fun to watch at Auburn. Now, physically, he's not going to be where those other guys
really fun
were.
To watch. Good player.
But just in on a lot of stops. But it's just when you talk about that next level, that elite level of having the size, the speed, the ability to diagnose, there doesn't feel like there's near as many as there was one day a long time ago. We'll continue talking that, and I'll give you a bad box score of the day that you will enjoy next on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Talking college football positions that you might want to be elite or above average across the board at, and how those would compare. Secondary, how would you roll?
Solid everywhere.
If you split that up between corner and safety.
Solid everywhere. If I can get solid everywhere, I feel good about it. I don't want a liability in the secondary. You look at Ole Miss last year, that was their biggest problem. They had one obvious liability in the secondary, and it got them multiple times.
Well, and if you have the one dominant guy specifically on the perimeter, much easier to avoid. And if you could have a dominant corner or dominant safety, elite A++, one or the other, which would you take?
Corner.
Even though you feel like that's a little easier to circumvent and avoid.
Yeah, but at least there's one side of the field I don't have to worry about.
Okay.
You agree?
Probably, yeah. I was thinking about other linebackers. Would Devin White fall in that category of?
Yes.
Yeah, he's big time.
Big time.
Dude made plays.
Great player.
Made really big time plays. All right, so it's a fun conversation of, we talked offensive lines. Do you have to have it? Do you need to have it? Where do you need to be in order to win a national championship? Do you want to be good there across the board? Do you want to be elite at one spot? Yeah, that's an interesting thought too. Do you want the elite left tackle, but you might not even be above average at other spots? I'll take above average across the board.
No question at the offensive line, for sure.
And then demeanor of play, we talked about that, and kind of what you want your guys to be, how you want your guys to operate, all a big part of winning college football games. We'll move on to our bad box score of the day on the other side, but if you're looking to move out of your home, Greg, who should you call?
That'd be Crocker Movie Search, our local company owned by an Iraq War veteran, Eric Crocker. Crocker believes in hiring movies you can trust, complete full background checks, and run drug tests on every single employee. These are good guys. You can trust them in your home. There's your whole home packed up and move. Your company headquarters moved across country, or you just want them to come rearrange your living room. These guys got you covered. They also do deliveries for furniture that you've purchased and need to get to your home. So call or visit them online today for a free quote. The website's CrockerMovingServices.com. That's CrockerMovingServices.com. Support your veterans by choosing Crocker Moving Services for your next move.
All right, we did it. We figured it out. Here you go on the screen.
Oh, you fixed it?
Got it.
Oh, so it's the screensaver on the computer.
Greg playing Mahjong is now the wallpaper in the.
Gotcha. I thought you were going like social media, but yeah.
No, I mean, we might make that the Twitter background also. It'd be good. Get that going.
Look good.
Absolutely.
Love that.
All right, a bad box score of the day from a sport you're probably not expecting. Next, Mac and Cube in the morning. Well, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Final segment of the show before we close it out. I'll tell you about my friends at Royal for over 50 years. Royal Automotive has been helping my friends and neighbors experience how car buying should be. Right now, get financing as low as 0% with approved credit on select models through June the 30th. Certain restrictions apply. 4 dealerships, 1 destination, unmatched selection and savings. Royal Buick GMC, Royal Volkswagen, Royal Automart, Volvo Cars of Vestavia Hills, all at the corner of I-65 and Highway 31 in Vestavia. From sales to service, the team at Royal can help you find that new ride to keep you rolling. Just remember, for every ride, there's Royal. They mean that. If you're shopping for a new car right now, maybe it's your dream ride or your first ride, go see my friends at Royal. Royal Buick GMC, Royal Volkswagen, Royal Automart, Volvo Cars of Vestavia Hills, the corner of I-65 and Highway 31 in Vestavia. Online, royalautomotive.net. Let's get to our bad box score of the day. Since we were not aware that it had started back, I had to backtrack a little bit, and I went back to week 3 of the Elf League.
Oh, boy.
That is the European League of
Football.
Mahjong.
And
would be better.
The Cologne
Colonels.
Eels.
Fire breathers.
Centurions.
Okay.
Just went down to the Tyrol.
Tyrell.
Tyrol.
Tyrell.
Oh, they're the Tigers regardless.
Tyrol.
No, they're the
They're
big
not
timers.
the Tigers. No.
Terribles.
Definitely the Raiders.
Oh,
The
sure.
Raiders.
The Raiders take down the Centurions 68-0.
Oh, no.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Tough day.
First down differential 24-4.
Okay.
First downs picked up via the rush 17-1.
Round and pound.
Now, you would think running the ball that well that the Raiders would be good on third down. They were 1 of 11.
Really?
Still better than Cologne's 1 of 15.
Huh.
That's 2 of 26 combined on third down.
2 of 26.
Probably quick game.
Yeah.
Now, I will say the Raiders went 4-4 on fourth down.
There you go.
Centurions 0 for 3.
Extending drives.
Correct. Your total yard differential? 502 to 115.
115?
115, correct.
115, not 150.
Yards per play was only 8.2 to 2.1.
They still went 1 for 11 on third down?
Your passing yard differential 154 to 89.
Quadruple
up. It was a ground and pound then.
That was 356 to 41
Let's
rush
go.
yard differential.
Not great.
Let's go.
Yards per carry to the tune of 7.27 to 4.45.
Let's go.
Almost a double up in the yards per carry. We don't get that very often.
Almost?
4.45 to 7.27. That's not quite doubled. But
It was double up pretty much.
I mean,
everywhere
I'm
else.
not good at math, but I know.
Math it up. Math guy. I don't know why you're so down.
On the ground for the Raiders. Jonathan Weisenhower, 17 carries, 110 yards, 3 rushing touchdowns. Tony Bonatti, 16 carries for 84 yards and a rushing touchdown.
Let's go. Spreading the wealth.
The quarterback for Tyrell, A. Platzgummer. Platzgummer. Hadn't seen the tape. Got to be honest. Have not seen the tape. But Jay Sullivan had 2 catches for 94 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's a have a day. Have a day. All right, we're back tomorrow. 3-man front coming at you next right here on Jocks 94.5.